Hereby open this meeting of the Londonderry Heritage Commission, this 26th day of January 2023. First item of business is the approval of minutes from our prior meeting.
Mr. Chair, Kristen's not here, but Lee is, the alternate, and you can point Lee to vote for Kristen. She comes, and
Yes, sir.
you get the full complement.
And Lee, what is your last name, please?
Jeffers, Jeffers.
Lee Jeffers.
Yep, thank you, sir.
Okay. Lee Jeffers hereby appointed to vote in the place of Kristen Endyke. Okay, moving forward with the approval of the minutes from our prior meeting. I've looked them over. They looked pretty good to me. Anybody else find any errors, omissions? Okay.
No, Mr. Chair, I will move that we accept the minutes of November 17th, 2022, as presented tonight.
So moved
Second.
and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. Minutes are approved. Next item of business is our design and formal review applications, beginning with an application for design review of a site plan for 130 townhouses and associated site improvements at 71 Perkins Road.
Is this Gene Gagnon development?
Yes. Gene Gagnon, owner and applicant, continued from our November meeting.
Good evening. Jason Lopez, Keach Nordstrom Associates, and with me, Gene Gagnon, owner and applicant. Met last meeting and discussed a few items you were looking for, a little more information and detail on building renderings, more information on landscaping, and lighting plan. So we've put that information together. I did hand out a copy of the building renderings. And there's also, on the back, the last sheet is signs. We've got multiple, haven't really picked a style. If the commission has a preference, one over another, certainly can take that into consideration. With that, I guess just kind of open it up to the commission's questions on what you want to talk about first.
So we had a couple of notes from our last meeting, including looking for material samples and colors.
Yep.
It looks like you've got colors in the rendering. Are those
Yep.
pretty close to what you think you're going to
Yeah,
use?
yeah, a tannish and the light gray. Didn't want to do all the same color, wanted to have a mix, at least two other, two colors.
Sure. Did you happen to bring samples, or are you
Yep.
just sticking to the rendering?
Yep, he's got some samples. It's going to be, a vinyl side and asphalt shingle.
Okay. So the cedar shake, that's all going to be vinyl?
Yeah,
There would be this one here for siding.
yeah, your standard clapboard, and then, the shakes, again, will be, a vinyl product.
And this is be the, I believe it's this one here.
This one?
I'm not sure which one it is now, but
Yeah.
if you look at the,
So again, the
Okay.
wood grain,
That's not the color, though, correct?
no.
Okay. The colors look pretty good to me. Does anybody have any issue with them?
Yeah, I think they're good. Actually, it's probably, it's in a year and a half or a little more ago, they had a conceptual discussion with the planning board. The planning board has seen, the renderings, but they have not seen the signs or anything.
Have you guys seen the planning board since we last met?
No, we haven't. I have been in to meet with staff, talked to staff about some items on the project, but we have not been before the board. We've currently got design review comments we're addressing.
Okay. One of the other notes that I had in here just was regarding lighting, whether or not it was needed in the walkways and the overflow parking.
Yeah, so what we're gonna do on that, we did go and talk to staff on that. At a minimum, they wanted to see the overflow parking areas with lights, the dumpster area, and the mailbox units. So we'll have those areas lit. Other than that, it's gonna be on the, front door, the rear door, and then over the garage, on the lighting plan, you'll see there's a, actually, it's not gonna be electronic. Downcast.
Dark sky compliant lighting.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Are those LED?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
And you did say you have a lighting plan that addresses those
Yes,
concerns?
we do. Yeah. That's what this is. This is the first sheet. And then as we go through, so we have dumpster location. Actually, go back to the overview. So up on West, we've got a dumpster in the center of the cul-de-sac, so that'll be lit. Then there'll be a light near the mailbox unit in this area. Then again, another dumpster area over here, another one right over here, and the mailbox unit is in this area.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions regarding the lighting plan?
No.
I have a question.
Okay. Next note was regarding the signage plan. As was stated, the third page of your handout does have that.
So we have to make the big decision on which one we like.
We should just get it over with.
Yeah.
I guess if there's one in particular or two in particular you have objection to, you know.
I personally kind of like the first row up there.
A and B.
Yeah.
A and B.
Yeah,
kinda.
Yeah, the font is kind of more traditional versus kind of the block lettering in the second row.
Just kind of like, it's in with the countryside, so
Yeah.
to speak.
Yeah, agreed.
Would the pillars there qualify for our usual monument base, or is that a different type of sign altogether?
That's,
Yeah, I think it's a different type of sign altogether.
Yeah.
It's not really a real monument. Real
freestanding.
monument is set on the ground.
right, with kind of a base built up around it.
There's a lot of the signage up Pettingill Road area, that's, there's monument signs there.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think,
the big one that it introduces you kind of the industrial park up there now, that's a good example of that.
I think that, that B would probably be the one that would withstand years of weather.
I would agree with
You know,
that.
you get those other posts and, you know, I probably would, and over a period of time, I think that it will become a little bit of an eyesore. Not to say that the owner's not gonna take care of it, but I just think that's a lot easier.
Granted, is in keeping with the New Hampshire aesthetic as
A
well.
lot easier.
Yes.
Those are granite posts, right, on B?
Granite posts on the
Yeah.
signs?
yeah,
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I would say B was probably my preference.
All right.
Any objections or further comments?
Yeah, I do.
I think that's a good choice.
I have,
Mr. Butler?
Gene, I have one concern that runs along Vista Ridge. And basically what we have here is we have Vista Ridge, the front, looking down over the road into the back of these buildings, or apartments, townhouses, whatever you want to call it. And my concern is, and I've seen it, and it's happened in town here, is that people start to collect stuff behind the houses. Regardless of what the rules are, they have a tendency to do it. And my concern is that over a period of time, that's going to become very unsightly, not only for Vista Ridge that's up high and looks down, but also any travelers that, I can just see it becoming a real sightly issue. I could be wrong, but I think we really need to deal with it. Whether we deal with it a combination of fencing, similar to Gilchrist Road, the ones that Stigler built, where the backyards face the road, and they've put fencing along that, so you can't see what they have. Or a combination of landscaping, berms, and fencing. I mean, it's a concern. Everything else I feel comfortable with. I'd like to see some shutters on the backside, only because there's a view that goes down
We
through.
did show about.
So this one here,
Oh.
so there's two pages of the rendering.
Okay.
One of the,
Okay.
the first one will show what it looks like as a three-story exposed. Then this one here shows what the two-story exposed will look like.
Okay.
So this is what would be viewed driving along Vista Ridge.
Okay,
You know, they've got the small deck in the back with the patio.
Yep.
And he did throw shutters up on
Okay,
the
good.
second
That's
floor. You know, we do have new landscape design, which incorporates a lot more landscaping along.
yeah. Now, is there a
Vista
berm
Ridge.
there?
What's that?
Is there a berm?
There is not a
gonna
berm.
be-
You know, the road sits up high. There's a slope easement along the whole road.
Okay.
So we're gonna be limited on what we can do within DPW's slope easement. But we can, you know, look at that
I'd
a
appreciate
little
it.
more.
I'll let the planning board determine it, but
I'll have to have that conversation with the
it's just my
engineering. Yes.
experience with the backs of the apartment buildings.
I would have to
Side
agree
of
with
the
that.
road.
I'm a Vista Ridge unit owner. I'm not going to be seeing these buildings from my unit, but
Yeah.
I can appreciate that concern. If you drive by like Willow Springs, the back of their townhouses don't look very pristine, so I could kind of see that happening here possibly, so.
And just so the commission knows, on Tuesday night, we did hold, we invited everyone from Vista Ridge to informational meeting that was held over at Verani office. We had an attendance of about a dozen folks, so we did reach out to them to, you know, come and ask questions about the project in view. They saw the renderings of the buildings, and for the most part, it was a pretty positive meeting and got decent response from them.
Okay. I just think that this needs to be addressed, because I know it's gonna, you know, I can't guarantee anything, but if
Understood.
experience tells me it's gonna become a little bit unsightly. And it's tough to control people. We have a few in town now, you can't see it from the road, but you certainly can see what they put behind their buildings.
Just on the,
So,
I've seen the same thing on Route 111 over in Hudson. The
okay,
backs of some of the apartment buildings
Yeah.
are partially obscured, but this time of year you can very much see all the
Same thing.
trash and stuff that's back. I shouldn't say trash.
fence,
no, I
It's sort
understand,
of
put a fence.
homeowners' equipment and whatever.
which is usually and traditionally are behind something.
Right. It's
You
back
don't
there
see
for a
it.
reason.
But here, you know, I mean, besides Vista Ridge, people in town using that
Right.
as a cut-through or whatever, so,
Yeah, usually you want to hide that stuff, but.
yeah.
You know, the town will hear complaints if they develop, and we end up with them also, so.
But everything else, I don't have a problem with. Myself personally.
So would fencing on
Yeah,
the
some
back of the
type of
building?
screening, is that kind of the solution?
Yeah, if
think.
you know where Gilchrist and Woodmont is, and they built that small neighborhood, and you notice that they're putting, there's screening along between the rows of apple trees and the house.
Yeah, I think the people there want some privacy.
That was a big issue.
Yeah, that was,
That was a big issue on both sides.
yeah.
But
So I wasn't at the Verani meeting. I'm a Vista Ridge unit owner, as I just mentioned, but I spoke to one of my neighbors today who was at the meeting. Apparently, there was some concerns about the location of one of the driveways off Crestview Circle in relation to school bus stops and whatnot.
Yeah, that, actually, I'm on the sheet right now.
Okay.
So Crestview comes out, it's right on the big curve. We've got a secondary access point coming out here. So for fire department, they wanted 2 points of access for both. We can only do one on west, so we're gonna have to go with a wider road and sprinkle the buildings. On this one, we can go with the 24-foot road, but it's gotta have the second access. And then, you know, code regulations in town square, line them up, because if they're offset, they're gonna be offset by a certain distance. And we have another access point up here.
Okay.
So we lined up with Crestview.
A
and
question
we heard
about
there
that.
was a concern there.
It's a secondary access.
Uh,
Is it for emergency vehicles only?
No.
Because we've had
No.
that in the past. It's not unusual.
I say secondary, it's a second point of access, not
Okay.
secondary, second point of access, so, unit owners, no restriction on use. Now, we have worked with VHB and traffic on this, and we've taken a look at the site distance, and there's gonna have to be some grading, actually drop the grade here in order to get site distance and clean, all this vegetation out, so, and there's gonna be a permanent easement that we're not gonna be able to have any vegetation in, just to keep that site distance, so we've already looked at that for traffic concerns and site distance and safety issues. I wanted to just go back real quick, the discussion on the fence, just so we have an idea. We're sitting at about 382 up at the road. The backyard of the units is gonna be down at 378. And a little more of a difference here, we're up 386, we're down 378 in the backyards. So a fence would need to be up close to the road. Other than that, you're gonna be looking over it.
Okay.
A fence down at the bottom here, outside of that slope easement, you're gonna be looking over it on the road. So it's gonna be more landscaping, I think is gonna be, or the fence up on the slope. I just wanted to bring that to your attention,
Yeah,
that
no,
there is a
no.
grade difference.
Yeah, no, I
To put
understand.
money into a fence to be looking clear over it would be, yeah. We'll have to take a look at that, look at
I
the grades
appreciate
and see if we can come up with a plan on that.
What's the setback there?
60 feet, I believe it was.
These 50s.
Yeah. I believe it was 60 feet.
But then your site distance comes into play. Engineer.
I don't have it labeled there. I believe it is 60, though. Yeah.
So I had a question regarding blasting. How much blasting do you think you're going to have to do? How much ledge is there?
Quite a bit.
Quite a bit, and it's gonna be mostly on west, which is this project up here.
Okay,
That's where the bulk of it's gonna be.
okay, because I
We've-
think that might have been a concern at the Verani meeting as well.
Yeah, we talked about that. So we're working on our alteration of terrain permit right now. Part of that
Okay.
process is any blasting in excess of 5,000 cubic yards needs to have a report to get put together. They're reviewing that right now. Then, the blaster will have their insurance requirements that they'll need to meet, pre-blast surveys. Then Town of Londonderry Fire Department has their own permit process it'll have to go through also.
Okay.
So, it'll head through the proper channels when it comes time for that.
Very good.
You know, a thought, Jason, coming back to the backyards, and listening to David and talk about Hudson and being able to see the stuff people keep in their backyard from the road in the wintertime, maybe part of the solution, considering the slope, would be four-season vegetation back there.
Yes.
Because that'll give you some play in the wintertime.
Yeah, we've got a mix going around of deciduous and evergreen. So we've got some evergreens back there. We could change that out. We'll take a look at that and come up with a plan, I guess, of screening, review with the planning board.
So from my notes from the last meeting, you have a landscape plan, but it doesn't sound like it's quite finalized yet? It's not a completed landscape plan?
We're presenting it as complete in the next design review submittal. Staff had comments in the first review on the calculations. So we've got to put it back before staff, and they've got to verify that we've got our calculations correct and got the right number of trees and stuff. Significantly increase the number of plantings we have on this plan. So
You've not
hope it
made
is,
that-
hope it is complete. We'll get more information after additional staff review.
You've not made that submittal? as of
No,
yet?
we have not. We're waiting on some information with sewer and traffic right now.
Yeah, 'cause our comments here, it does get transmitted to staff also, so I think the more input, the better. But it's hard to cover all bases just looking at pictures and everything. You don't know until you actually build it, and then find additional things that,
So I've made a few notes. We've covered a lot of the things that we had noted from our last meeting. Elevations needed for all sides of buildings, you guys covered that. The lighting plan, we've already gone over that, that looks pretty good. And then the last item was the completed landscape plan needed. Obviously, as we just discussed, that's still an item. Some of the new notes that I've just made includes the screening for the view from the backside of the townhouses. I'd like to see that reflected in your new submission. I did note that sign B from your submitted samples was our preference.
Yep.
And the last note that I made is regarding a visibility study for site distances on the corner that we were just talking about.
Yeah.
Specifically, you know, if we're gonna screen it, we need to see how that's gonna affect visibility. We also just wanna know what the site distance visibility is gonna be, as submitted, so.
Yeah, it's 365 in both directions.
365 feet.
Yes.
Did you already have a visibility study done?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that has been done, submitted, reviewed by Stantec.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
So when you were talking about screening, are we talking now, have we moved beyond fencing to landscaping, additional landscaping?
Well, I think that question is probably still up in the air for the moment. The fencing could be an issue. Art and I were just kind of discussing whether the setback could be an issue with the fencing, and then if it's gonna affect the sightlines from the
Well,
entrance.
yeah, we can't place anything within that site distance triangle.
Right.
We'll be prevented to,
right, can't
Put
have
anything in
any
there.
structure or anything.
correct, yeah.
In there. Probably, I'm sure staff will go through it carefully anyway. I think there's any concerns, once they get brought to the planning board, there could be additional concerns from the board. We don't know until it's, you know, fully, the plans are fully developed.
Yeah, I think they gotta go back to staff and let staff make the determination on
Yeah.
location of whether or not it's feasible to put a fence.
I mean, the staff will also have
But if it's
suggestions.
feasible to put a fence, landscaping in my opinion,
Yeah, how close
feasible
can they
to
get
put a
that
fence.
landscaping to,
and that's staff,
the
staff
road.
is gonna be.
So
John Troy will give it a close eye. So.
should that be an inclusion in the notes,
Yeah,
Chairman?
yeah. For right now, I wrote screening. I'll make a more detailed note regarding staff coming back with a determination. That is all I have. Any other commissioners have any further comments or questions?
I think this is a great use of this land. It's been vacant for over 20 years since I've lived at Vista Ridge, so I think this lends well with the character of the neighborhood. Back in 2012, there was.
You don't want the shops?
Back in 2012, they wanted to build this huge shopping center, and I was totally against that. So I much prefer to have these townhouses. We need more housing in the area, so I really think this project complements our neighborhood.
Well, we did have a meeting before we decided to go with townhouse, with the, you know, what board that we met with the,
Oh, that we just met with staff.
the staff,
Yeah.
and they recommend going townhouse, it would be better,
Yeah.
that's why.
No, I applaud you for this project. I think it's going to lend itself really well in that neighborhood.
Yeah, it's nice, I think it's gonna be a nice product.
Yes.
Done, so, and it fits, you know, it fits the area.
It does. It does.
I think even with the landscaping and everything, it fits right in with that. I think a better use than we had proposed there before, the mall.
I
Was-
remember
was-
that.
That was, had several iterations and nothing ever.
So what is the timeline for completion? This will be built in phases, correct?
Yes, it will be phases. The plan is to do Vista West up on the hill first. That's where the blasting will take place.
Okay.
Be able to move some of that excess material over onto East. Now with West, a lot of our utilities, sewer and so forth, will come down the hill.
Okay.
It'll pass through East and go out towards Rockingham Road. So there'll be work done on the east side to construct utilities to support the west side.
Okay.
And then East will start after that, looking at getting a lot of the infrastructure in place. And then the buildings will start being built as, you know, market and the economy allows.
Understood, yeah.
yeah.
Okay. No other questions or comments? Okay. So the few notes that we made, just to recap. Visibility study required, it sounds like you've done that, although staff will need to take a look and see what kind of screening we can put in there, whether or not it'll affect site distance.
Correct.
Sign Bs preferred from your submitted samples, and the completed landscape plan is still needed. Okay, thank you.
And we were second on the agenda also, and that was for the subdivision and, you know.
Correct. So, following into our second formal review application, it is for design review of a subdivision and lot consolidation plan for the same property. Gene Gagnon, owner and applicant, continued also from the November meeting. So the note, one of the notes that I had was regarding existing stone walls. If there are any, they are to be rebuilt if they're gonna be disturbed.
Yeah, so the stone wall I know the request was to try to build something down at the entrance. We've got a slope easement that's under ownership of the town. And we can't construct anything within that slope easement. So we're gonna take that section of wall back here and just swing it over on the edge of the clearing. So maybe about 100-foot section of wall there.
Okay. So what kind of wall are you thinking? You gonna build like just a kind of a small stone wall using those same stones without any?
It's just utilizing the same stones. It's essentially just gonna be taking what's there and
Shifting it over.
shifting it over to the toe of slope.
Okay. Okay. Otherwise, this was approved as submitted, so I don't think we have anything else unless there are further questions or comments from commissioners.
Nope, usually stone walls are most critical.
Okay, approved as submitted. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Have a good evening.
Okay, our third review application for tonight is for a design review of a subdivision plan to subdivide 11 Sergeant Road into 13 single-family residential lots. Bruce L. McKay and Peter Wright, owners, and DHB Homes LLC applicant.
Thank you.
This is classy.
Thank you, sir.
How we doing tonight? Aaron Orso with DHB Homes. Obviously here to present what we've been doing in regards to what we're going to call Moose Hill Estates. We included throughout the package the concepts of the homes that we're looking to build. We also included the building materials that we would be proposing to be used on all of the homes. And that's if you get through all the set of plans, you'll get to a page that more or less takes you through the different materials we use on different aspects of the home. And then there's a chart behind that or a page behind that that will go through each and every one of those building materials. Those won't vary very much. We try to stick with maintenance-free. We try to be an on-trend builder and keep up with current trends that are going on with design. And then when it gets to the last page, we worked with the rock relocation plan of any disturbed rock walls. We shifted most of them towards the entrance of the subdivision to create for a little bit more of a New England-y, I guess, entranceway into the subdivision. And then we also relocated some to the back along the cul-de-sac, with also keeping in mind some of the other ones that we had to open up just for either site distances or to allow people to enter their driveways. But we are trying to keep as many of them untouched as possible and keep with the integrity of the property as it is right now. We are also planning on keeping the house, and that was a big thing going through the concept meeting that I had with the planning board. And our plan is to keep that and refurbish it as to, I don't know, I like the appearance of the house. I included a photo of it. I think that there's a lot of character with it, and obviously with the age of it and the sediment around it, we want to keep it. And I love the barn next to it. I think with a little bit of a facelift, and we are obviously in the construction business, so I've had a chance to walk through the property interior wise as well. And we feel that we can keep it and bring it to its a 2022 update without losing the character that it has from the past.
Yeah, I think that's on our historical list of properties also.
Yep.
So,
That was my next question.
We did have concern that it was possible that we thought that, considering the age, how much work would go into it, but from the research that we were able to do as of today, it looks like we think that we can refurbish this and be able to market it still and, you know, feel comfortable with that investment.
Yeah, probably the exterior, there's a tendency to keep it, you know, its period in time.
Yep.
That's the only critical thing. Inside, a lot of these old houses are probably at least 60s, 70s style. So
Yeah.
the inside is beyond our jurisdiction, so that's up to the owner.
Yeah, I mean, if looking at that photo right there, I won't lie, the chimney, I'd like to start there. I would like to make it look a little bit more like an authentic chimney. I've inspected all the windows. There is some windows, in my opinion, that need to be replaced, sills and stuff like that, things that are caught up in rot. But we intend to stick with the clapboard that's been used on the building, and replace any that has been either rotted or underneath the sheeting that has been, and we have not incurred a ton of that. So the small, like I said, sills seem to be a big issue for rotting areas and water collections, you know, on these older style homes. So those types of things we are definitely going to address, but still trying to keep with what you guys are saying, keep the look of the outside to fit, you know, fit the look of the time that it was built.
Yeah, I think one of the criteria we have is the outside to be at least 75%, you know, original.
Yep.
Not the original material, but the original look and everything.
Yep.
You know. 'Cause I'm sure materials that old are not in good shape.
What year is the house?
It was 1700s, I think. I thought it was,
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, it's it's an oldie.
yeah, it's an oldie. I mean, you go inside of it, I mean, I'm 6'3", it's a little tight in some spots, but all in all, like I said, I think that there's some hope for it, and with a little bit of, you know, working with an architect inside, I think that we can come up with some, you know, a layout that will be marketable for future buyers, and also I think it'll have the ability to blend in with the homes that we're building as well, even though they'll be a little bit newer. You know, the whole idea is, you know, it's I guess what we would call the showpiece of when you first pull into the subdivision, and that's what we're thinking.
So there's a barn on this property as well?
There is. If you go to the next page, it'll show the barn.
All right.
Or the next slide.
right.
That has a picture of the barn. Currently, I believe that they run like a maple syrup shop out of it right now, but the barn is awesome. I mean, it's really cool. It's got an upstairs loft. I mean, I wish I had that on my own property.
Do you intend to stick with basically the same aesthetic for the barn? I understand you may have to.
I'm not gonna touch the barn at all, to be honest with you. Maybe a power washing. I mean, the barn is in really good shape. It's been built within, you know, I would say definitely the last 20 years. The house is, you know, where some of the material issues are awry.
What do you think the intended use of the buildings is gonna be moving forward? Are you actually gonna allow the house to be lived in, or what do you think you guys are gonna do?
Oh,
with
yeah.
it to-
Yeah, my plan is to try to sell it with the remainder of the properties. I think that there's people out there that like historic homes like this, look at it as either a challenge. Our plan was to fix it up and try to remarket it, you know, with keeping with, you know, I wanna design the inside to kind of mimic an old, it's not a salt box, but it's got that kind of a vibe to it. With the barn out back, I mean, I'm not gonna do anything with that. I mean, you know, give the house a little bit of a facelift, to do some stuff interior that works a little bit more with what families are looking for today. You know, put a paving on the driveway and stuff like that and clean up the property. But other than that, that's our plan for that.
Yeah,
And will you I'm sorry, Art, will
Oh,
you
no, go
market
ahead.
the house and the barn together? Is that a?
Yeah, it's all on one lot. That's all on the first lot on the right-hand side. And I think the property will be a little bit more enhanced now that we were recommended to include sidewalks. So if you see in that kind of that entrance photo that I have, the sidewalk will now run out in front of that house, tying into the properties next door. Obviously, there's the allure of the playgrounds, the parks, and all of that stuff. And for us as a developer, that's marketable. I mean, the thoughts of families being able to just go play play basketball, play in the playground, everything like that, we wanted to have that as well. So we were happy to include that. And then with extending or relocating some of the rock walls that are in the roadway right now that you'll see on the plans, we think that that'll create a nice little, you know, appearance going on as you pull in on your right-hand side.
And where we ended up with the sidewalks was it'll be on that street, not all the way out to the main drag.
Correct.
Correct,
Yeah,
okay, that's
yeah.
fine.
Yeah, we found people that own old historic homes have a love for them and
Yeah.
a passion. And they like to maintain it, keep it original during the restoration. So it's, we like to find more people like that, because we do have a lot of old 1700
Yeah.
vintage houses. Usually the best thing is for someone to live in it and use it.
Yep.
Mr. Butler, you have some questions?
A couple of questions. Just so you guys know, I've walked several of this gentleman's properties, and quite frankly, I think that he puts out a pretty nice product.
Looks
And I
very
think,
nice.
I personally think we'll be proud of it.
Yes.
A couple of the things that have me a little concerned is the entrance. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because this road leads into our athletic complex for the young, well, for the kids in town. And it becomes extremely busy. So my concern is that corner is a tough corner.
Yep.
And it is.
This is up by the Laffa Fields.
Yes, this is up by the this is the road into the Laffa Field, so we know.
Yeah, where it takes the
Yeah.
90-degree bend
Yeah.
to go to the.
The sidewalk,
Yep.
are you extending that sidewalk? Where does that sidewalk stop? So
I was gonna have
understand.
it stop out in front of the first lot. It would come out onto, it would come out to right at the end of lot proposed 42. So if you can pull up this, it'll be like right here. I'm sorry.
Where your fingers?
Yeah.
Okay,
Is there a slide for that, Aaron?
Yeah, if you go to the last slide. Yep. And if you bring it all the way down to the corner, that's where we were bringing it. If you come down to the lot, proposed lot 42, we were bringing it out there because we were getting encouragement from when we were at the planning board meeting to do that. That's not something that we're hung on. You know, I did like the idea of being able to let pedestrians walk on there. I'm well aware we're doing a full traffic impact study on the location. Obviously, it has its times of peak. You know, you can't take lefts at 1:30 to 3. Obviously, Saturdays and Sunday, catch it the spring and the summer, it's gonna be a cluster down there, without a doubt. But, you know, on the normal day-to-day traffic, we actually think that the end, and trust me, I wanted to bring the road a little bit more to the left, but there's a wetland that cuts right there that I'm trying to kind of, and I'm still working, because we got design review back on the turning radius
Okay.
of the road, because one, I got the house that I'm trying not to raise,
Right.
or I can't move to make a non-conforming lot. And then I got another wetland impact that it becomes a little bit more substantial if you push the road to the left, so that's the reason that I kind of have it in that location, but definitely open to, you know, if you guys aren't on board with wanting the sidewalk to extend past that subdivision, I'm all on board with things like that.
I think it's, yeah, I don't want to have you spend money unnecessarily, but I think that if it goes to it looks like the lot line there where the stone wall is,
Yep.
I think that is plenty of clearance for that curb,
Okay.
for that curve, because it's a dangerous curve.
Yep.
It is what it is. But if you bring that sidewalk where you say it is, then either kids coming off of Sergeant Road or children that are in this neighborhood
Yep.
want to walk up there, at least they're walking on a sidewalk.
Yep.
And, you know, hopefully we can avoid any type of problem. Sure. Now, on that sidewalk there, do you propose granite curbing?
Yep. We're doing
Okay.
granite curbing in this entire development.
All right, okay. Okay, I feel comfortable with that. At one of our meetings, wasn't there a historic path that went through here? There was a concern about it?
There is the old Kelly Road that kind of goes through it. It's a Class 6 highway, but I think parts of it
Highway.
are. Because Kelly actually goes by the town pound, across behind here, down onto
Okay.
Pillsbury Road.
Okay,
And some of it is just like a little, I mean, it's a typical Class 6 road, it's just like a little path in the woods. I walked it long time ago.
okay.
probably grown up now. But
'Cause
So,
it-
Art, I'm sorry, that passes through here?
it,
It's not shown on this, but there is an old roadway that does go through this property and heads towards behind, I believe. Is that a
back
crematorium?
Okay.
somewhere, because I've only walked it from from Laffa Fields. And that's when the FAA had the VOR beacon out there, the big VOR beacon that, for the aircraft. If you travel to Europe sometimes, you'll see it up on the screen on the plane that they have, be Londonderry. That's the VOR beacon.
Okay.
There's all sorts of, it's well protected and everything, and there's high voltage signs, high
Yeah.
radiation signs to, because there is a lot of radio energy
Sure.
going up. Don't go around there too long, so.
But going back to the sidewalk, when we were at planning, there was a couple people who had said, made recommendations for like easements through properties, and this was our, kind of our solution to helping the people of our, or the kids of our community feel like they could at least go out still onto the road. And that sidewalk, yes, it does encroach into the Sergeant Road, but it kind of drops them right off at that parking lot,
Yeah.
which, you know, less traffic on the road, we were in favor of, so that was the reason for
That
that.
makes sense. To do an easement through one of those lots.
Yeah, I look, no one's gonna want everyone else's kids.
That-
You know, that's tough enough when you have a cul-de-sac subdivision, not having all the kids in your yard,
I'm
but,
glad
know.
you took it out. Let's put it that way. Okay, I'm good. I'm
Yes,
good.
some good points there, Jim. I think the planning board hit on some of them anyway.
Good.
The conceptual. So
And
I
our
think
design
that's what-
review went very favorably. We're in the home stretch with working with staff right now. We're hoping to be back meeting with them on the 6th of February to take whatever notes you guys have. Our Conservation Commission meeting went well as well, so.
Yep, I
Do
think
we have
it's-
any stone wall issues in here?
We are relocating some of them, I show them where they are right now. So this is a relocation plan, but most, see like if you go towards all the way to the back of the property, the line that shoots, yeah, right there. Any of those ones that are on lot 42-2, 42-3, those are gonna stay, they're gonna be slightly adjusted or opened up so you can pull a car in. And then the other ones that cross over, where you see they cross over the road at the beginning of the entrance, those are getting relocated along the whole first lot on the right. And then all the ones out back that cross the road path, like on lot 42-7 and 42-6, those are gonna just be relocated around the cul-de-sac. And we'll use those existing stones, and, you know, if you've seen how I did an 8-lot subdivision up on Family Tree Estates, we had to do a lot of the relocation, and, you know, I take an opportunity to take these rock walls and make them kind of stand out as a, you know, a selling feature. You know, it gives that old New England feel, and I'm not just saying that to appease you guys, it's a selling feature. People like to see that. They're buying a 1-acre parcel, they're buying in Londonderry. They want to have, you know, pulling in your rock walls on your right and your front yard. It's appealing.
Yep, they want the rural atmosphere.
That's correct.
We try to give it to them.
Having said that, you know, we had an experience within the past year or so where we had a builder put a development in with the intention of moving the stone walls afterwards. The property sold fast.
Yep.
And then we had a homeowner who didn't want the stone wall anymore, and all of a sudden we had letters going back and forth. So the suggestion I think I'd make to you out of that is get your stone walls moved and in place before you sell the properties, so
Yep.
that you don't have issues with us on the stone walls.
Yeah, my style of building for a development like this is our first thing we normally try to do is cut in the road, bring in the utilities, obviously, like, and then from that point on, I'll usually try to pop in 5 or 6 foundations so that I can begin on framing. I like to have a subdivision that looks like it's up and moving and not just sitting in the water. So the number one thing is I got to get my sites to a certain level, but at the same time, with that, I don't want to be disturbing things, you know, until I get framing, siding, and roofing all completed. I really try to stay away from the exterior stuff, but usually my how I market my homes is for a development like this, I'll try to take at least one home all the way completely to finish and then begin marketing. So by that point in time and frame, I'm probably, you know, if I started this project in June, we're probably looking at like September, realistically, where I could have those walls back up in place and, you know, have what I would consider something to get ready to market. But yes, that'll be definitely something that we make sure we don't pass along. I've run into situations with projects before once you should just do things that are based off of the approved plans right away, because then it starts getting convoluted with what people's wants are.
I have a couple of questions for you. You've done a really good job as far as presenting materials. You have a note on here for natural stone,
Yep.
but I don't see anywhere where there's actually stone in the renderings.
Natural stone would be something that we would allow for as an option. It's not a standard feature. So if I wanted, some people will say would maybe want to have it in their peak or along the foundation. You know, these are things that we put in options. I do use normal cultured stone where, like, you know, you buy at any landscape and we have a mason install it, but we also have this product called Versetta stone that kind of goes up like a siding.
Vinyl.
It's real stone, but, you know, I leave that to buyers and options. My standard is vinyl siding, whether it be cedar impressions, vertical paneling, board and batten, or horizontal siding, Main Street monogram. Those are our, you know, that's what I'm gonna put up unless I'm building a custom home. Or unless I feel like that there's a home that maybe I want to put some stone on the columns or something like that to just, you know, we try to differentiate our homes as much as possible. I hate cookie cutter building.
Okay. As far as the colors of all the houses that you're gonna build though, are you pretty much sticking with some of the palettes you've given us?
Yeah, I mean, some of those, you could definitely see some of those concepts out there. I mean, that's a Heather, I think it's called whether it's Heritage or something like that.
Certainty.
Yeah, it's a Certainty. So Certainty makes Main Street and monogram sidings. It's just different colors are offered in each one of those. I mean, this is seagrass green with, you know, we try to have a Georgetown gray roof. You know, I try to pull the grays and the greens into each other as much as possible. This is sterling gray and granite gray. You know, my wife and I work with a lot of designers. We work hand in hand on this, on trying to bring together, you know, designs that aren't over the top, but, you know, represent 2022. And if, you know, like I said, like Jim said, if you take a look at any of my developments, I put a lot of care into how I make things look. I believe just first impressions is so important. So when I'm going to bring people here, I want to go, oh, that's awesome. That's how I want my home to look. So, you know, we definitely put a lot of care into that. But yes, a lot of, you know, either board and batten styles, cedar impression styles. You know, we try to make our garage doors stand out as much as possible. I don't just do a boring, you know, we try to have a gallery style so there's a little bit more of a colonial feel. We add in the spades and the handles. It just gives a little bit more character on the homes.
Okay. As I said, you've given us lots of details for the buildings. The couple of things that I didn't see though was a detailed landscape plan,
Yeah.
lighting plan, or signage plan.
So this is a subdivision plan. It's not a
So
site
just
plan. It's
subdivision
just a
so far, there's
subdivision.
No actual.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is a single family, you know, 1
Correct.
acre, you know.
And we
housing.
will include foundation plantings, or what we also do is part of my standard features. So hypothetical, the house is $700,000. In their standard features, they'll get an allowance for their landscaping and for their seating. And usually what we try to do is work with local landscapers or people that we know that we try to tie into a whole subdivision so that our buyers feel like, you know, they're working, you know, hand in hand with the guy who did an awesome job next door. You know, a lot of subdivisions like this, people are gonna wanna put in irrigation systems. I don't like to constrain them to how they plant their foundations out, but obviously this is gonna be a really high-end subdivision. When I personally take a house all the way to finish, the foundation planting will be, you know, something that stands out. I try to stick away from what everyone considers builder grade.
Yeah, the single-family housing is outside of our jurisdiction. We only can
Yep.
look at the subdivision. Multifamily, that's a whole another case. That's where we have.
like a development, but
Yeah.
it's all single family.
I get confused by that too. I was literally talking to my engineer tonight who couldn't make it and just going, well, we need to have our lighting plan. He's like, no, this is
It's
a little
not a site
different.
plan.
Okay.
Would that include, Art, the signage or is there a sign plan?
So
for this?
I want to put a sign in. I did not propose a sign today, and I'm not too sure where that stands with you guys, even if I had to come back or something somewhere along the process. But I would like to have a sign that meets Town of Londonderry regulations. Off the top of my head right now, I haven't gotten into it. We really just kind of settled on the name. I try to work with my sellers, and anytime I'm buying a property, to work with them on, how would you like to see this named? We can see if we can apply for that same, even with this street. I work with the people so that there's a little bit more care that goes into it. So yeah, I would like to have a sign. I don't know if it's going to be where that's located, and if it becomes something, that's. My game plan is to put a sign in. I don't know exactly what it's going to look like yet.
Yeah, the location would be on the subdivision plan, but as far as the design, all he has to do is go and get a permit from the building inspector. And it has to meet all the town regulations.
Right.
If it was multifamily, we would have jurisdiction on it.
Okay, so
Yeah, this-
other than making a suggestion perhaps.
We can certainly make suggestions, but we don't have,
But I've read through all the signage on all the zoning ordinances. I would stick with a matted color, probably a little bit of uplighting just to kind of have, it stand out. I mean, these are going to be, really nice homes, a high-end neighborhood. So I'm going to want to have something that, a sign welcomes you. It makes you feel like, this is where I live. And, I wanted to make sure it stands out. So my game plan is to have something that's planted out and, like he said, file with the building inspector and go do whatever requirements that they have, I'll make sure that I follow.
The schoolhouse has.
The requirements you're gonna come across are basically just making sure that it's within a certain height and so many square feet
Yep.
are the main requirements, so. And lighting for the sign, if you
Yep.
plan to light it at all.
Well, he's saying uplighting though, do we?
On the sign, it has to be on the sign, correct?
Down.
We actually, we discourage uplighting.
Okay.
We typically either light from above
Okay.
Or within.
or within, right?
yeah, but downcast avoids lighting pollution and everything.
Okay.
Not that, we have that glow to the north from the airport, so.
I want it to be welcoming, not blinding.
Well, if you envision the neighborhood carrying your name, whatever it ultimately ends up being forever, you might give some consideration to a permanent sign. There've been some developments where a sign of less than stellar quality has been put in, and within a year or two, the sign is gone, and so is the name of the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Something along a permanent line with maybe a monument base, maybe some stone built into it.
Yeah, well, I was thinking two boxed columns with stone on the bottom, maybe some, either maintenance-free. I do like wood because I think that it gives a little bit more of a, I don't know, woodsy feel. I like to stain things a little bit, and, whether someone in the neighborhood has to, once every 3 or 4 years, go up and stain it, but the sign I would make maintenance-free. And, I was thinking something along the lines of like a metal, matted black metal that was kind of like carved out. That's kind of what I was envisioning.
I think it's that someone in the neighborhood part that ends up being the problem, right?
Yeah.
Like,
But then I'm, honestly, at that point, then if that was a sticking issue, they have AZAC products that are maintenance-free that,
Yep.
would probably look just as good.
Okay. The two notes that I've made are relocate existing rock walls along roads and driveways. You've signaled your intent to do that already, but that will be required. The other is signage must meet planning board specifications for height restrictions as well as square footage and lighting. So I'm also just putting lighting must be dark sky compliant.
Or basically, it all meets town regs, so.
Right. Any other questions, concerns?
I'm sorry, just for my notes, could I get you to spell your first and last name?
Yeah, it's Aaron, Aaron, Orso, Orso,
And the company name, Aaron?
DHB Homes.
Fantastic.
Okay, otherwise approved as submitted.
Thank you, guys.
It's a
Enjoy your
nice
night.
project down in Salem, if anyone wants to go, take a
Yep.
look, but,
Thank you.
very well done.
I don't think you have a hard time selling.
We're getting
this.
closer to finish, yeah? We got one
Very
left down there.
desirable area in town.
We should
Good
hope.
luck to you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next application is for design review of a subdivision plan for a proposed 19-lot subdivision consisting of 5 single-family residential lots and a conservation subdivision consisting of 13 single-family residential lots and 1 open space lot at 116 South Road into 116 South Road, Brook Hollow Corp. Owner and applicant.
Thought there was one before us, so we would have been more ready.
While you're setting up, maybe I can get names and companies.
Yep. Jeff Merritt from Granite Engineering,
Jeff, spell your last name?
MERRITT.
Actually, it's probably easiest, with the business card, or something if you,
And John Wickert, WICHERT.
we don't want to misspell anyone's name.
No, Art will get me if I do.
It wouldn't be the first time, so. Good evening. My name is John Wickert. I'm an engineer with Granite Engineering, and I'm here with Jeff Merritt, Principal Engineer of Granite Engineering. And we're here on behalf of the Brook Hollow Corporation to present our proposal for the property at 116 South Road. Our project proposes the construction of a residential subdivision at 116 South Road, as I said. This lot is known as Lot 75 on map 4 of the Londonderry Tax Assessor. The lot is located entirely within the agricultural residential district and is just over 37 acres in area. The lot has approximately 1,800 square feet of frontage along South Road, and it currently abuts town land to the northwest across the road and southeast, state land to the northeast, and private residences to the southwest.
Just so I can get my bearings. Sure. South School's up here?
So-
I'm a little,
Oh, well, I'm with you.
maybe
Good.
it's age, I don't know. but I'm
Yeah, there's a missing north there on that plan, I apologize,
I
but,
thought- Up here?
yeah, so if
Yeah,
you look
yeah,
at
me
that
all messed up.
locus, it should still have it.
Just top right there.
Yeah, the top right.
You
right
can see the
right
north
above
there.
your head.
Right above your head, yeah. See the square, the north, everything.
More toward the western end.
Okay, I got it.
South School is marked, Jim,
Yeah.
right there.
There you go.
Yep.
Apologies for that.
Thank you.
So this project is a 19-lot subdivision, or proposes a 19-lot subdivision. 18 of these lots would be building lots, and the remaining lot would be a conservation lot. Of the 18 building lots, 5 of them would be conventional subdivision lots. Those are the lots shown in yellow on the plan. And the remaining building lots would be part of a conservation subdivision. These are the lots shown in green surrounding our proposed road, Southgate Drive, which would be a 900-foot-long cul-de-sac. The conventional lots are the conventional lots range in size from just over 2 acres to 7.25 acres, which may change after talks with the Conservation Commission and our client, but at the moment, it is 7.25 acres. And the conservation lots range from half an acre to right around 3/4 of an acre. All these building lots will be for single-family residences, and there are no stone walls located on the property as far as we are aware, or as the survey picked up. 2 stormwater practices are located
on this project. The first one on the top left, on that first yellow lot, if you can make it out. No, it's hard to see, and I don't have the pointer up here with me. Oh, I see it though. Oops, sorry, Jeff. Top button? Oh, yeah, just hold stop button.
Jeez.
High tech.
Hey, Mike, how much did that cost? Oh, boy.
You check that budget.
Yeah, I know.
So, we have the first stormwater practice, as Jeff just highlighted, which serves to control peak discharge from several of the conventional lots to the abutting private residences there on the southwest or the plan left. And then we have one on, that's really hard to see without the highlighter, but right there, it's a little half moon or boomerang shaped pond there. And that would serve as treatment and discharge control for the 13 conservation lots. The property does not have access to city or town water or town sewer, so potable water will be derived from 2 wells that are in overlapping circles, yeah, right there. 2 wells there and a small pump house, and this would be a private community well system that would be maintained by the association and the company of their choosing.
Is this the well house here?
Correct.
Yes,
Yep.
it is.
So this is just like a small maintenance road that comes out there?
Yeah.
Just a little access road out there so they can maintain and take samples. As far as state permits go for this project, we are over 100,000 square feet in disturbance, so we do need to seek a alteration of terrain permit from DES. We have applied, and we are still waiting to hear back from comments from them, as well as from design review. And ultimately, excuse me, all of the individual lots themselves will require subdivision approval from the state, as well as the subdivision as a whole. But that's an overview of our project, and I'd like to open up for any questions, concerns.
Nope. No stone walls, so makes our life easier.
Okay, without any comments or questions from commissioners, we will approve as submitted.
Yeah.
All right.
All
Thank you
set.
very much.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
So my apologies, I did actually go out of order and skip over one of you guys. I did.
It happens from time to time.
I was gonna say, shucks, right?
Shucks.
So we do have an application for design review of a site plan for the proposed development of a 264 dwelling unit multifamily residential development with associated parking and amenities at Michael's Way, Lot 41, zoned AR1 and Woodmont Planned Unit Development, Pillsbury Realty Development LLC owner, and WP East Acquisitions LLC applicant.
Business card for the minutes, too.
Wood piles.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm all set. I've had one when you were with the planning board.
Thank you.
I just want to point out for the commission that this is under the Woodmont master plan.
Yeah.
And they have their own
Master
regulations, yes.
PUD.
Yes. Yeah, so there's site plans, subdivision plans that are particular just to the Woodmont. So it's a different animal from what we have, so. I don't know, Mike stepped
Yeah, good
down.
evening. I don't know if we want to wait for,
I was gonna say if he has there's a whole master plan for Woodmont. It's online on the planning board's webpage. So.
So, yeah, good evening, Chairman. I'll leave it up to you whether you want me to go ahead and get started or wait for Mr. Malaguti to come back.
Oh,
Just wait a minute, I want to ask the town manager something. I just, so I understand its location. Hey, Mike, this is a Woodmont PUD? Correct. This location, I just want to confirm that it's in WC1? I
Yes.
know, it,
Yeah,
I just, so that's the confirmation on it?
yeah.
so they.
I copied that.
I
on
was,
the
all
plan.
right, okay. Yeah, you guys, well, you've been at it for a while, so, okay.
And our WC1 is strictly residential, is that?
No,
No.
no, it's a mix of, there is residential, but commercial also.
Yep.
And I think where they want to build, I think it includes commercial, but mostly residential,
Does.
residential in the form of multifamily. So it's a good fit.
Yeah, no, it's appropriate.
I'll go ahead and get started. My name is Mark Seck on behalf of the applicant WP East Acquisitions. Our company is Wood Partners. I'm joined by Rob Del Savio of the Embark, who is our architect. Behind me is Michael Malinowski with Allen and Major, who is our civil engineer. So we are here ahead of you tonight just as a little background. We have made our informal submission. We have met with the Conservation Commission. We made an informal presentation to the Planning Board, and now we're in front of you here tonight. We are awaiting town comments as well as comments from the peer review board. So I'm going to kind of just walk you through the project, who we are, Wood Partners as a developer, and then I'm going to let Mike and Rob kind of walk you through more of the technical and architectural aspects of this project. So Wood Partners, we are a national development company based in Atlanta. We do have a New England office just located just outside of Boston. We are strictly an apartment developer. We only build for rent apartments. We don't build condos. We don't build office. We don't build industrial. We focus on one thing and one thing only, and we do it really well, and that's apartments. We are not only a developer, we are also a general contractor and property manager. We only build our own products that we developed, and up until recently, we only managed our own projects. So we think that helped keep all of our interests aligned, that we don't just develop and then get out. We stay with the project from inception through stabilization and operations. As I mentioned, we are based just outside of Boston. We've been inside in the New England market since 2010, and since 2010, we've built over 3,000 units here in New England. Up until this point, it has been Massachusetts. We're excited for this project. We've been dying to get into the southern New Hampshire market, so we're really excited with this one. But have a lot of experience throughout New England and consistently one of the largest builders, not only in the country but also in New England. Mike, do you mind just going down one more slide? So here's just kind of, you can see where, pretty much all spread out. We're primarily a suburban builder. We have done one in the city of Cambridge as well as Somerville, and we are doing one out in Worcester, but our bread and butter is really suburban apartments. We specialize in Class A apartment buildings, so luxury, high-end apartment communities. As I mentioned, the project team. Yeah, so here is just some samples just to give you a sense for the quality of apartments that we deliver. Here's one that we recently completed in Stoneham, Massachusetts, which is outside of Massachusetts. It backed up to the Middlesex Fells Reservation. We thought this was a good one as it is a much more suburban nature location. So this is kind of the exterior. We build everything with full amenities, on-site management, as I mentioned, really high-end units. You can see the quartz countertops, stainless steel appliances, tile backsplash, and you can kind of get a flair for what our amenity packages look like. And then we just have kind of one more example here. This was a project that we completed in Walpole, which was another suburban town. This was 157 units, 4-story wood frame with surface parking. Just a shot of the inside there. So, you know, I know you're all familiar with the site. I know that the town has been working, you know, the PUD has been out there for a while, and I think we're all excited to see this development moving forward. There's been the first component there, which you can see along Main Street. So here you're facing an aerial facing north with Michael's Way to the west, Woodmount Ave to the east, and we're kind of going to be taking over what is more or less the middle parcel. There'll be a parcel to the north of us before Pillsbury Road, and then a parcel to the south, closer to Main Street at Woodmount Commons. So just kind of the lay of the land there. So we currently, Mike, do you mind going one more slide? Thanks. Yeah, thank you. So we currently have this designed as 264 units spread across 11 three-story buildings with one standalone amenity clubhouse space. They kind of all flank what will be our central courtyard, which will include a pool and a large lawn green space that is yet to be programmed. We have 338 parking spaces and 68 private garage bays, which you can see there, for 400 total parking spaces at a 1.52 ratio. We'll have a mix of 1, 2, and 3 bed units, with the majority being 1 and 2 bedroom units. We will have ample, as I said, we have ample on-site parking, as well as bike storage. We will have, I think it's worth noting that we've been doing more and more at our properties, we will have ample EV charging stations located throughout the property, both in some of the private garages as well as the surface parking. You know, so as I mentioned, it'll be, you know, state-of-the-art amenity with, you know, work-from-home suites, gym, club room, game lounge, on-site management. We will be the property manager. We will be the general contractor here, so we will be building it. And we're really excited about the possibility of building in Londonderry. So that's kind of the high level. You know, we'll get into a little bit more of the details, but I'm going to kind of turn it over to Michael Malinowski from Allen & Major to just kind of walk through kind of the technical civil aspects of the project.
Yeah.
This 11? Yes, please. Thank you.
Yep.
Good evening. My name is Michael Malinowski. I'm with Allen & Major Associates. We are the civil engineer and landscape architect for the project. As Mark had mentioned, we've got 11 buildings spread throughout the site for 264 units. We are flanked by Woodmont Ave, which is to the east or top of the page. We got Michael's Way along the west, along the bottom, and then Governor Bell. We do have a full stormwater package that has been submitted and is currently being reviewed by Taylor Tanner and Associates, the town's peer reviewer. Our stormwater consists of closed drainage systems on the property. There's an existing stormwater basin to the east along Woodmont Ave, and then there is a second one along Michael's Way, both of which were designed under the original PUD to support this project. Based on our calculations, we actually have a net decrease in impervious cover for this project as what was previously contemplated under the original PUD master plan. So we will have additionally a net decrease in our stormwater flows that contribute to both of those ponds. As well as in that, we've also looked at the contributing areas to each of those ponds, and we're within less than 20 square feet of difference between what is proposed and what was originally contemplated. Utilities for the site consist of municipal water and sewer. We will pull water and sewer both from Governor Bell and Michael's Way. Both of those have provisions for this project. As part of our package and submission to the planning board, we've received will serve letters from Pennachuck Water as well as the town for municipal sewer. We do have a full landscape plan, as you can see here. As part of the original package, there was a much more detailed landscape submittal that called out all the trees and materials for the project that is being currently reviewed. There is a full lighting plan consisting of LED lights, dark sky compliant materials. That is all being reviewed as well by Oil Tanner. Sort of gives you the broad view of the technical of the site. If anybody has any specific questions, we'd be more than happy to answer those for you.
Where is the Derry Medical Center being in relation to this?
Just south of us. So you see the little cul-de-sac that's, yeah, you can see that right there.
At the top right there, just on the other side of Governor Bell.
Yeah, I see.
This is backwards from what I was looking at, so.
And then I'm sure you're familiar with, the Baldwin, which will be located to the east of this site.
Mr. Butler?
Yeah. Currently, on the other side of that roundabout, same side that you propose, we have the Derry Medical Building. The Derry Medical Building has a brick accent wall that runs along the front and turns into the road. I would like to see if we can have some uniformity at that roundabout.
We do have that provisioned as part of our initial design.
Okay.
So that was one of the comments that had come up during our preliminary meetings with planning board.
Okay.
So if you look at our site plan,
Okay.
there's a nice curved section between those two buildings.
Okay.
That has that same detail that
Okay.
Derry Medical has.
Good.
We've also got a short piece along Michael's Way that's, there's some small parking between the first and second building. Right along Michael's Way. Right here. We have another piece of that wall that sits along Michael's Way to sort of protect the view of the parking that's there. We have a wall provision on the corner that matches what Derry Medical has.
Right here?
Yep, right in there.
Good.
We've also got a short section up on this side here that protects the view along Governor Bell of the parking.
Because that's kind of a main entrance.
Yes, because actually in the
One shot at this.
the architectural guidelines of the PUD is that building design should reinforce community character of the Woodmont Commons PUD and should be visually and physically compatible with adjacent uses. Public facades, ground floors, entrances, storefront windows, and signage and lighting should be designed to articulate the pedestrian-scaled architecture and create visual interest. Buildings should transition in scale and height as they approach properties of smaller scale. That's basically sets the tone for the
Yeah, so
architectural.
we've
There's more detail on, gets into like window design and things.
Yeah,
things like
and
that.
Rob Del Savio, the architect, can sort of elaborate more,
Okay.
but at least relative to that nice wall that's
Yes.
there, we've tried to incorporate as much as we can, so that as you come around that cul-de-sac, that there's a nice uniform on both sides as you go down Governor Bell.
Yeah, some of the planning board members had articulated that they like Alta Frisco Square, I think is one of your,
Oh, I got it.
buildings.
That's what the.
Because I know, I think Jake can have input on this, and, Jake is here to help the planning board. And the other was Alta Stone Place. And I guess that is a restored mill building.
Well,
But that was kind of the
we heard from the
design.
architect.
Yeah,
yet?
well, if, I don't know if it
like
makes
that.
sense to get into the architecture.
Yeah,
I have a few
let's
points to go
keep
over,
that.
and then we can
Yeah,
circle
we'll-
back.
yeah,
Them
we'll,
separate.
we'll work with the architect. So that's probably better.
All right, okay. Yeah,
So Mike, if we can go back to the colored site plan, I think it was sheet 11. There's just two things I want to point out on this before we get back to some of the building architectural elements. Two things is that the buildings all have very good setbacks from the sidewalk line, and that's going to give us a good opportunity for plantings and so forth, and you can start to see that, and we will see it again in a minute in some of the renderings. So we're not tight to the sidewalk edge at all, which is, I think, comfortable, because we also have ground floor balconies and ground floor patios for those units, so I'll have a little bit of privacy and setback while not feeling totally disconnected from the sidewalk. The other thing that's good here too is the form of the buildings and the mass of the buildings respects the fact that there's no real back to them. you know, some of the other projects often have a back, you know, there's two windows on the back side, there's no articulation in the facade and all. But these buildings, all four sides are highly visible, especially when you go on all three sides of the property. So we made a strong attempt at not having it ever feel like you're on the back. The only difference in many cases from one long side to the next is whether or not there's a door to get in. But otherwise, it's still articulated in the same way. And that goes in terms of how the roof plane folds around. We'll see that more as we go through the next two slides, probably.
Because the rendering that you have here shows, you know, I'm saying this is the front side of the building where the parking is. So I'm glad you clarified that.
Yeah.
Take that off my checklist.
Or three.
I didn't say,
Although, Mike, I guess we can drive with this, right?
I don't think we're gonna see it, because I didn't see it in here.
Thank you for doing this, though.
So we're still working on final material selections and colors, but this just wants to start to begin to tackle some of the massing ideas and the concepts ideas. So all the residential buildings are 3 stories, and given that we have a good number of entrances into each mass of the building, we're allowed to have a lot of articulation in the facade. So there's lots of ins and outs, which give it scale, a residential scale, more than just a long, big apartment block. The other thing that we're able to do too, and this is what I was pointing to in the site plan, is that you never really have a gable end condition where you just sawed off the building. The roofs always turn and complete themselves. And the only spots where we have the gable end articulation is where we have those pairs of 9 windows. So it's becomes a very prominent part of the elevation. Materially, in the way we've sort of broken the mass of the building up, we've gone like basically a 1/2 articulation. So the first 2 stories are clad in the clapboard. The windows are surrounded by a trim which grabs both windows. And then the top floor, the 3rd floor, which is where the gable end conditions show up, is where we're doing some other, either a board and batten material, something to differentiate it from the first 2 stories of the building, so it's not just all the same. And again, you can see here how every unit will have a balcony, which helps us to create some visual changes to the mass along the building, rather than just having that sort of sheer plane as you go along. And here you can see pretty well the amount of landscaping that we're gonna have from the face of the building out to the back of the sidewalk. So you're never pulling in 4 feet away from the front of the building, from the front of your car.
So why 3 stories? Why not 4 to maximize your revenue? Were you limited?
The zoning does not, allow 4 stories. And furthermore to the zoning, there actually is a maximum setback under the PUD. They kind of wanted to keep that streetscape alive.
Okay.
So there, we do have that nice landscape buffer, but the design guidelines behind the PUD was to keep it kind of aligned with the street and not further setback.
The Main Street area, with the buildings up there now, that allows 4 stories.
I saw
But
that, yeah.
Beyond that, it's 3 stories.
We're technically, we're allowed 4 stories, but we're also capped at 24 units. So
Okay.
the architects sort of had to work both in how high and how many units per floor, and the 3 stories sort of worked for that 24 unit
Okay,
mix.
understood. Thank you.
So in your rendering, it looks like the 1/2, you have almost the same color. Is that gonna be the same color with different material, or is it gonna be a slight variation?
We're gonna go for a slight variation. So just to conclude, is that we're working on the actual real color schemes now, because we may have some subtle variations across all 11 buildings. So maybe it's just one face on all of them is consistent, the outward face, or some pattern, some system.
So that was my next question, was whether or not from building to building, it was gonna be the same color. In the rendering, it looks like they're pretty much the same building to building, but you're gonna have some
Right,
slight
maybe there's
variation.
an entry element or some other piece that's different per building.
So the theme will be the same, but there'll be price variations to make them look a
Yeah,
little
subtle
bit
variations. We
different.
don't want to make it look like a catalog of paint colors.
Yeah, we already have one apartment building over there that kind of looks more like the Berlin, Mass location that you have, like every 20 feet of the building is a different
yeah.
color. It'd be nice to see a little bit of consistency.
But the kind of articulation that's in the Berlin project there, you can see is what we're trying to go for here.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to go to those ones.
Yeah, actually, if you can go to the next slide or two, maybe.
So your architect's in-house?
We are the architects. We're the architects.
Not in-house, no.
So I'll wait.
So, go to that one. This one's perfect. So here you can see, like at the bottom left image, we want to have more distance between where you park and the front of your building. So that's why I made the point earlier on that we tried to push the buildings further back. and also have a little bit more articulation, because even though there are recesses in that facade, we like to break that up even a little bit more. The image on the right, bottom right, starts to get to how the landscaping may approach the buildings, and, you know, we wouldn't necessarily go with those bold colors, but that's sort of where we're heading with respect to how the ground meets the building. And this is the Berlin one that we were just talking about. This one starts to get to some of the detailing that we may have around the clubhouse building, the more feature building.
Jim, yeah.
Yes.
Some more questions?
I do.
Go ahead.
All right. I'm very familiar with your company. Before I retired, I used to supply you with materials, and I can tell you that I had a very good relationship with you. You put out a decent product. I believe in mixing materials. I noticed in the photographs that you've shown in Massachusetts, it's pretty much all clapboard siding, from what I can see. I may be wrong. I have looked at your website and have looked at other areas of the country, and I've actually taken pictures of some of your products. And none of the board have seen this, but I think, okay, this may not be yours, but we have an idea of it. These are the other ones. The board hasn't seen those. I happen to, I've been on this, if you want to call it project, I've been involved with it from day one, and that goes back over 10 years,
Oh, yes, because
Way back.
13 was when the master plan, Woodmont master plan was signed.
Yeah.
And we actually started in 2010 with Pillsbury Realty
And-
Development. That is probably 3 years in developing that
Yeah.
master plan, so it's been well vetted, and not that it's perfect or anything, but it has at least sustained Woodmont to this point, and the town is pleased with what is there. But basically, it's between the Heritage Commission and the Planning Board to hold them to the original, what's the original plan is and everything.
I think it's important that we've always had the concept that we want to mix materials. We want cladding, we want granite, and we want brick. That's the New England look, that's the New England finish. You go to these small New England towns, and that's what we see. So my biggest concern, without mixing the materials, like the pictures I've showed you, is it starts to look stale. I'm glad to see that there's some discrepancies, or not discrepancies, but 2Ds in the facade instead of a flat facade. There's one down at Tuscan Village. It's a box. It's a box. They threw some sliders in, and they have some grates in the front of it, and it's just not appealing at all. And it's certainly not what the people that work to put this PUD together expect. So I'm very sensitive to that. And so the pictures that I've put in front of you is certainly different than what you have shown in your packet. I think that gives you the feel and the flavor of what people are looking for. We want to try to get a design that's soft. I don't want something to stick out that's bold. I don't think people want that. I think they want it soft. And what makes it soft? Different planes in the exterior, different building materials. Some people say peaks, some people say shutters, simple things as shutters. That's New England. Does it cost more? Yes. Is it a maintenance situation with shutters? Yes. But it does provide a very soft feeling to an overall complex. So what I suggest, and the board hasn't seen these, so I just happened to get them today. So I'd appreciate if you pass them
everyone's
around.
feedback, yeah.
My opinion is, and I respect you guys, believe me, this is, and correct me, board, when you see them, this is the way I believe that the town wants to see this move into. And there's no doubt about it that this is probably next to the Baldwin, which is a different type of facility. This is the first real apartment next to Main Street, which was built by the owner of the property itself. And we gotta hit it right, guys. You do high-end materials. You even indicated that to us. You want a high-end building, and that's what we want. That's what we need. That's what we want.
And that'll be your selling point. One, I think it'll make it
it's
attractive
just-
to people. Also, I think people that live in town.
I'm sorry, I just
will be
didn't have
happy
time
with
to get it to you guys, that's all. I didn't.
Yeah, I think when we initially, looked at this design, we kind of, we always like to look at what's the town and what's the kind of surrounding buildings and theme in the town and, maybe the little bit of the history of the town with being, apple orchards and farms as well as, and we thoroughly, reviewed the design guidelines that the PUD, that you guys spent so much hard, work coming up with, not only the zoning, but also the design guidelines and the lookbook, if you will. And, we looked to do design concepts that fell within those design guidelines.
I know when the planning board had its conceptual discussion with you, I think it was back in November 2nd. I think some of the members were looking at some of your other, on your webpage, other sites and everything, and had mentioned some names they felt was more attractive than what was initially presented to the planning board at that time. But the design, the character of everything is what's gonna make it work for the community and work for people that want to live there.
Yeah.
We found the Baldwin, which is under construction now, probably won't be ready till probably the end of next year, or I guess, well, I'm looking at 23, probably the end of this year. They're already full with reservations, and it's not even fully constructed. And that's, a lot of it is the design that can be sold. To have it filled up before, the construction's completed is quite a
A lot of need for assisted living and independent living, yeah.
But I think a lot of it is the location of it also, and I think it's the design and how it blends in with everything. And usually,
Sorry about that.
my experience with developers is to have them take a ride around town for a bit to get the flavor of what's in
Yeah,
town.
we spend a lot of time, as I mentioned, we've been really eager and excited to find a project in New Hampshire. And we did spend a good amount of time up here in Londonderry driving around, and I'd like to think Rob, especially with the peaked roofs and the gables, kind of looked at a lot of the residential homes in the area to kind of get some design inspiration.
Can you put their elevation back up?
Yep.
Yeah, two of your, I guess, locations that were mentioned at the planning board conceptual discussion was Alta Frisco Square and Alta Stone Place as likable.
Yeah, the Frisco is down in Frisco, Texas. I'm not real familiar with the product. I did look at it. It's a little bit different setting down there. And then Alta Stone Place, yes, is in Melrose, Massachusetts, and that, as you mentioned, was a converted industrial mill.
Yes.
I just think they have to get creative with materials. And that's all wood siding, all of it. There's no mix.
Yeah, I think you need some of the brick, blending
Well, I mean,
blending
I
of
think
it.
yeah. I mean, I think, we've given them our thoughts, and
Yeah.
unless people disagree with me, and let them take the photos back, and they
Yeah,
move
see
on to
what
the
they-
planning board.
If they have to come up with. I know when we had Home Depot years ago, that was, I think, 4 or 5 iterations before we were in agreement. And that was before the Heritage Commission was that involved, mostly the planning board. And it was taking pictures of Home Depot across the country and say, why can't you build this at Londonderry? And they traipsed back to Atlanta. 2 months later, they come back with a design that looked a little better. We had some suggestions, they would go back to Atlanta, to headquarters again, and then come back with something that all of a sudden everyone said, you know, I mean, they and the planning board were happy with it, so. It doesn't happen overnight, but it's a iterative process.
Yeah, and I think, you know, we're trying to balance something that the town is excited about, and something that's visually appealing. I mean, this is, you know, Main Street is gonna ultimately become kind of the downtown of Londonderry. We understand that there's not really a main street in downtown in Londonderry in this kind of village here, and, you know, once the apartments come, we're expecting a lot more retail to come, right? Kind of the rooftops before retail, and this will kind of spur, you know, future development and really create this kind of neighborhood downtown. And, you know, we understand that and see the vision, and we want to be here long-term, and, you know, we want something that looks really appealing and that residents want to rent to. But, you know, we also do, you know, have to balance kind of the financial feasibility of a project, right? And, you know, everything goes into that, materials and, you know, height and, you know, finishes. And we tend to find that residents, you know, appreciate, they like to, you know, the finishes that they see within the unit versus the outside of the building. Now, we always want our buildings to look, you know, really amazing, right? That's a big selling point in the wow factor when you come in. But it's a juggling game with, you know, spending money on the interior finishes, the exterior, and then also having it fit in with the neighborhood.
I was just gonna say, yeah, just make sure you keep in mind that there are other residents in Londonderry other than the people that are gonna live in these buildings, so, everybody else still has to look at them too, right? So.
Yeah, absolutely.
The more they can kind of match with the theme, more, so to speak, of, or the traditional look of the neighborhood, the better. I think that's kind of what we're getting at there.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, just offer a few comments from the perspective of staff, and just for everybody who might not know me, my name is Mike Malaguti, I'm the town manager, and I also happen to be an attorney. I appreciate a lot of the comments.
Mike, I won't hold that again.
Thanks.
Okay,
Yes.
just checking.
We'll be
Good
nice to you,
check,
Mike.
Mike.
I appreciate a lot of the comments that I've heard, and I just want to add my perspective, which is that when you look at the PUD master plan, and when you look at the lookbook, while there are general discussions about sort of what the legal standard is, for lack of a better term, what we should be looking for, what we should be encouraging, it's pretty vague, actually, when you get right down to it. And so, by way of example, I'm showing you on the screen here
Well, yeah, this is from the master plan.
from the master plan, and you know, limited guidance for applicants, right? In terms of the architectural guidelines, some of the features that have been discussed tonight: treatment of ground floor. The ground floor shall be articulated with a varied material to anchor the structure. The applicants have spoken to that. Proportion and configuration of the building elements shall be used to reduce the overall scale. Horizontal building elements, material changes, and articulation of facades shall be used to emphasize the vertical nature of multifamily buildings. That's been spoken to as well. In terms of character examples, I frankly, the one on the left looks like it's in Key West. And then the one on the right, I mean, I would have to say that multifamily design, at least from my perspective, has evolved since this photo was taken, probably back when the PUD was instituted.
These were probably from, years previous, because,
Right.
I can't think of, Andreas Duaney was one of the real prophets of PUDs. And some of it came from him, because we had a one-week charrette with Duaney and Company and Woodmont people that came up with this design. A lot of the consultant that Woodmont used was Shook Kelly. Shook Kelly had some very, very interesting and nice designs. Some of these probably are from Shook Kelly also.
And then,
Which,
you know,
they're headquartered in Charlotte, North Carolina, so there's more of a little bit different architecture, but they had made some suggestions to adapt it to New England style.
yeah, and so, you know, same thing with the lookbook. I think that there are parts of this that are very helpful. You know, there is a discussion about brick, and, you know, soft colors. But then you look at, you know, some of the pictures, and they don't look like anything that really exists in Londonderry right now.
Well, Mike, can I stop you there?
Sure.
because you and I can disagree.
Yeah,
I know.
by all means,
Okay.
Counselor Butler.
There were a lot of pitches thrown around. Now, I know I've been at it since its inception. I know Art's been at it since its inception. And I think we have a pretty good handle on really what the townspeople want, and what they expect. Now, if I'm wrong, guys, you tell me. I showed you pictures. You sat on meetings, other people have sat on meetings. Am I way off with the style and the feel and the flavor of what I've shown them?
I mean, I'm new to the Heritage Commission, but
No,
I'm a
I know
little-
that.
I'm a little confused, though. I think the look of shutters looks great, but when I look at this existing building, this Main Street building, I don't see any shutters. I don't see a soft look, to be
And I
honest
can
with you.
tell you, after 12, 11 years of this, how many phone calls I've got.
On this building?
Yes,
Past
Oh,
ones.
okay.
trust me.
Yeah,
So I'm very
So,
sensitive.
and I want to make it clear, Counselor
That's
Butler, that, you know, the purpose of my comments is not to say that anything that you've said or any other board member has said
I understand, sir.
is not correct. Actually, my suggestion is that there's a basis for it in the lookbook and in the architectural guidelines in the master plan. It's just a question of, you know, how that gets worked into their project.
yeah, and I think a lot of it is the vision that we've had when this was had first come to the town. And, you know, there was a lot of visioning being done, a lot of town people participated in it. There's a certain expectation they have of what, you know, will be there. And I think we're kind of reflecting on some of that because we do hear a fair amount. Woodmont at first was not very, very popular, but I think we're finding people, especially people that are there, like it. Not that they're native from Londonderry or New Hampshire or anything, but they like it. But the whole thing is to build this village up so that it'll attract people that don't live there, but also just like the architecture, like, you know, the whole ambiance, the whole atmosphere, so that they can go to restaurants there, you know, have their beer there, go to a movie there, go to a play there, go to a concert there. So it'll be kind of like a focal point, you know, for people to congregate and to leave their money, hopefully.
Yeah,
you know.
and I guess the point that I'm trying to make is that, you know, we don't actually have, other than the lookbook and other than the guidelines that are set forth in the PUD, we don't actually have color standards, texture standards, finish standards, and that's why, frankly, your job is so difficult on this.
I don't
commission.
see it difficult at all, Mike, but that's,
It's not on our, what he's.
I look at it this way,
No, the
okay?
de-
I know
details
Wood,
are-
I know Wood Partners. I think they're a good group, no doubt about it. I think they've heard us.
This is all there
Uh,
is.
The design review
That's all
committee
there
that
is
you
on-
went
on-
into,
on
I
the
assume they
documents
went
that we
in
have.
to a meeting with
Oh, we've met with them
staff?
multiple times. Yep.
I don't know if staff lives in town. This somewhat, although I think, didn't they go for a conceptual with the planning
Yes.
department?
Yeah.
So really, that conceptual with the planning department and this here now, you're talking to the townspeople. Do you understand that? I mean, you're not talking to the planning staff that don't live in town. And they do a great job, don't get me wrong. But really, now you're talking to the townspeople and now you're getting the true flavor of really what the people want. And I have faith in you that make some adjustments and come up creative and come up with something a little bit different or move the materials around. I know you guys can do it. You've done it in the past, put it that way.
I think we haven't heard a lot from you since we've made some of these comments, so I'd like to see what you guys have to say. Is it not feasible to reconsider the design and possibly add
No,
some other
we
elements?
absolutely will, and I think, you know, kind of why we came with such a, you know, outside of the, as Rob mentioned, kind of breaking up kind of the massing with the
Yeah.
2 and 1 scale, right? I think there's first and foremost is the massing visualization, regardless of colors and materials, right? Is how does it break up with balconies and whatnot and peaked roofs? And we think that concept really, from a visual, doesn't make it look very uniform or, you know, like a flat wall. So we really focused on that. And yeah, we're absolutely, open to looking at, how else we can further bring these up. And that's, obviously why we're here is to solicit comments from you. And I think that's why we kind of came with more of an open kind of canvas book here with
I
colors
understand
and siding to get that feedback instead of just, here's what we're doing and go, go, go. And that's kind of why we kind of came with this more bland. But again, we do still have to balance, the materials used. I mean, brick is very nice. It's very expensive, right? And so we want to build for the market that, provides for an opportunity for rents at a fair price, and that fits the market, right, for New Hampshire. And so I think we try to factor that all in, and, the numbers will have to work. So I think there's ways we can look at this and try to incorporate. I mean, I think some of those renderings were all brick. It's just, it's not feasible.
No, I wouldn't do it all brick. I think it needs to be mixed up, though that was just a combination of materials.
Yeah, I think it's
What
kind
I
of a,
see here is all just, I'll be honest with you, it's all clapboard. That's what I see. Now, either you came in with what I call, and I've seen it before, I'm not saying that, you came in with two things happened to me or tell me. Either you came in with a building and you're looking for suggestions for the design, or you don't want to spend a lot of money on doing the architecturals until you really know what the people want or you want. So I believe that there's room here. I believe that there's room, and I believe that you guys can come up with something that I think the people will like.
Yeah, no, we absolutely.
And I think it's a great start.
Seek out
Believe me.
comments. Absolutely, yeah.
yeah, I think we definitely can work at something. That's the way we've done it with other projects here in the past with other developers, is that we kind of work at it together, so it's a mutual effort. And, I mean, we're kind of a reflection of what we hear from people in town, so.
Yeah, I think the buildings are, in their shape and their form, are set up for being able to have a good scale to them. It's really what the application of facade materials are. So I don't think there's a lot that has to be done on the massing side. I think that actually starts to feel good the way it is right now. So it's just a material.
It
Yeah,
gets
we're gonna
in-
mix it. We have to make it. We gotta mix it.
I think it gets in the old adage, the devil's in the details, and I think the details, it's like the little things that collectively all of a sudden will make, the design will say, this fits, we like this.
Maybe clapboards and brick.
Well, a mix.
right, yeah.
I mean, we've always tried to get a mix.
And use some of the brick to break up the clapboard look and,
Although you're thinking of full brick. I would imagine those jobs, the photos that I showed you, I would
Full as
assume
in-
it's full brick. Not
as
thin
opposed
brick.
to not thin. We would never use that.
Yeah. I'm not disagreeing with you, but
It looks fine. You won't know at the end of the day whether it's thin or not because the corners are good. It's more of a durability and weather issue.
understood.
It's falling.
So I've made a note here that just says mixed materials design options requested by submission, and in parentheses, I added some, brick, stone, clapboard, board and batten, et cetera. So just kind of a design option or two that gives a little bit more of a mixture that we could look at and make a decision on would be great. What is the timeline on this?
So we've done our informal submission. We have not yet received back comments from the town departments, and the peer reviewer. We submitted just before the holidays, so, we'll look to work through those comments. We'll hope to come back to you before this board at your February meeting.
So our next meeting would be March.
Okay?
We meet every other month.
we do special meetings to,
If you,
move things along.
if you've received all the other comments that you need from other departments, the planning board, et cetera, and you're just waiting on us, we can do a special meeting, in order to get things moving for you, if
Yeah,
that becomes
I
necessary.
mean, if amenable, we would appreciate that. I mean, I think we'll have a good month to address any of the town's departments and also look at some ulterior options for this board. I think we all kind of want the same thing, right? We want to see this project move forward in a quick manner. So if this board's amenable to a special hearing, because as my understanding, you only meet the last Thursday of the month. So that would put us at the end of March.
Yeah, that's
Fourth
normally the
Thursday.
fourth Thursday.
Yeah, so if a special meeting can be held, that would be appreciated. I mean, we also have,
Yeah.
have a contractual obligation with the Pillsbury folks.
Yeah,
And I think that would give us sufficient time to look at, how we can tweak this plan as well as address the town's departments and the peer reviews comments as well.
yes. Yeah.
Mike, I'm sorry,
Right,
Mike,
go ahead, Jim.
we don't have to notice this.
I'm sorry?
We don't have to notice this in the paper. This isn't,
No.
just so I know. So
No,
we
so-
have a lot of flexibility.
Yeah, this
Correct,
is,
so
this isn't a public hearing or anything, so.
Correct. So abutters do receive notice as part of the design review process, but that's it.
Okay, real quick question. Based on the experience, how much lead time should they give us? I mean, if they wanted a meeting tomorrow, I'll be there.
Oh, if they want a
It's all
special
about
meeting?
service. Yeah,
Under 91A, you have to give 24 hours notice of a meeting. I would recommend that we try to give a little bit more.
no, I understand that, but I just want to make sure that you understand that
And
I'm
I-
willing to be flexible.
And I will
I
just.
appreciate that, yes, thank you, yeah.
For what it's worth, Mr. Chairman, I know that, Wood Partners is excited about this project because frankly, they've waited a long time while we've sorted out some infrastructure issues within the PUD. And they're still here. So I wanted to add that.
You just made mention of roughly a month would be enough time, you think, to get everything you need back between all the departments that you're waiting on, correct?
Yeah, I mean, Mike, and I don't know if you have any kind of update. Kelly was supposed to send me some today before she left for vacation, but
I actually don't know. I can check in tomorrow and get back to you. I certainly know that it's a priority and it's
Yeah.
under review.
yeah.
And also
The
try to
next-
do 2 earth tone colors with the buildings.
The ones they have in the rendering actually
Well,
are,
that's true, I didn't want them to
Yeah.
go off board and say,
Oh, you don't like those reds?
February 23rd would be the fourth Thursday of next month.
That would be great if all the board members are available.
Everybody think
Yeah.
you can be available?
I don't have a problem with it. Wait a minute, I'm going on vacation, when? I did that. I'm supposed to go to Florida in 2 weeks, I forgot.
That's
The
4
deliberative
weeks
session,
out.
I'm like, oh, God. I had to eat crow on that one, trust me.
Okay, February 23rd.
February 23rd.
Okay,
It's 4 weeks out, you should be good.
okay, Jay.
So Mike, can we set up a meeting for the 23rd?
Yes, by all means.
Great.
Is that good?
That's great, I appreciate the flexibility on this board's behalf. Thank you,
Absolutely.
Chair.
Yeah, obviously,
you.
we want you guys to move forward too. We're just trying to make sure that,
Absolutely, yeah.
make as many people as happy as possible.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, no, we appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
Yes.
Before these guys leave town, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
Don't say.
We saw,
Tom.
yeah, I know, I'm sorry, I'll take that back. We saw the picture of what the buildings will do. They're interior-facing buildings. And in all honesty, I did watch the planning board meeting this afternoon to see that
Oh,
presentation. All these buildings face inward, right, towards your green area?
You mean where is the door to the building?
Yes.
In most cases, it faces in, yeah, but the articulation, the facade is almost exactly mirrored, less the door, to the roadside, let's say.
Okay, so there's, because I know in our conversations, I think in our conversations with Derry Medical Center, we had them put a door
Yeah.
on the street-facing side, with the understanding that, one of the original, as I understand it, I don't date back as far as some of the guys here, but the understanding was this was a walkable area, and, to walk past back doors or the back of the building is not necessarily what we wanted folks to see. We wanted them to see something that had more of a homey feel. And so this was sort of brought up in a different way in the planning board meeting. Is that door does that enter into a front to rear lobby?
Yeah, the lobby basically goes all the way through. Yeah.
I'm assuming there are doors on the back sides of the building. They're just not like a large
Don't say
entryway.
backside, oh my God.
Thank you.
Oh my God.
On the
Street side. Let's put it-
non-entryway side of the building.
Yeah, on the street side, the outdoors, like for instance, the balconies and the terraces for the ground floor units. Yep.
Let me see if I can, when this was, Michael's Way was developed, it was supposed to look like a boulevard. Okay, so if the front or the back of the buildings that are facing Michael's Way looks like the back of a building, I'm gonna give you my phone number and you can take the calls. What do you think, Art?
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? That's, believe me.
So this rendering, this front rendering, this is what the view facing down Michael's Way.
Okay.
So that is what you'll see from the public street. And we think that looks like it would be the front of a building. It doesn't look like a back end.
Just, that's all.
You don't know the back from the front from looking at it.
Oh. We'll work through it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we had-
Derry, just so you know, what Derry Medical Center, I believe, if I recall, their primary entrance is in the Hinton parking lot that we had them put the building in. But they put a, probably going to be very underutilized and more decorative entrance on the street side. So that, so that people walking past,
With the brick wall, the gates and everything, and that was a lot more to hide the parking. which
that's
you
what we
can
put the
see
whole
some
building
of-
in, the parking.
Yeah.
After a while. But there's an entrance there that makes that building look a little bit more attractive from the street, particularly with the brick wall that runs down the side. And at least on the Michael's Way buildings, if it is not a major project, you might think about putting some sort of an entrance facing street side to make that look a little bit more attractive.
Look like on these two buildings, they enter from both sides,
On the inner buildings, yeah.
on these inner buildings.
Yeah, that would make sense.
And they're just erase these and move these two over.
I think they get the concept.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, with Derry Medical, we had several, iterations.
Well, if I may, just so I understand that comment, all the interior buildings on the courtyards do have access on both sides. And you were kind of thinking that for the Michael's Way. I mean, I think we kind of had it there with the additional landscaping, as these are ground floor units along a busy street and pedestrian way, and it kind of provides a little bit more privacy for people just to walk up to kind of their front door. But I'm understanding that you would like to see entrances off of Michael's Way? Or just like a false door that almost
Well,
mimics?
I don't, something that looks a little bit more friendly than a solid wall.
For multifamilies, they have to have
Open to
On-
ideas,
on
but I
both
think you can
Michael's Way.
appreciate if,
Yeah, that, I think it's a.
frankly, these guys get
Michael's
calls
Way
from
looks like.
folks that vote for them. I get calls from my neighbors that basically say,
more than
you
that.
know, what they want to see on that street, and what they want to see is something they could stroll down on Easter, okay? And I want something that's attractive on that building. Whether it's, I would think a real door would be probably what you want versus a false door. And that might enhance your lobby a little bit, maybe, if you do it correctly with the right lighting.
Yeah, so Michael's Way is supposed to be like the grand entrance to everything, like the boulevard. So, I mean, that is basically your facade, your invitation for people to look, when selling this, to invite them in.
Okay.
No, I think the architectural guidelines on the PUD, I mean, it says, building shall be orientated to the street with pedestrian access and entry. Building shall be clearly delineated primary entrance. And that's, I'm sure that you guys have this information. I get it.
Yep, we'll take a look at that.
Yeah, that's great.
So I get to sleep in my bed tonight.
Huh?
I get to sleep in my bed tonight.
Oh, do you?
Well, we certainly appreciate you letting us come before you tonight. We'll regroup and be back. And again, appreciate your flexibility at the end of February to host this special meeting. We look forward to coming back with, some progress and something that hopefully we all like.
Look forward to working with you.
I'll ask if are there any other final questions before? If not, we're.
No.
Okay, great. Well,
See you
thank you
guys
very
in-
much.
at
Yeah,
7
good night.
p.m.
You
At
got it.
7 p.m.
7
Same
PM,
time.
yeah, right here.
Yes.
Michael? Can I get a business card? Thank you. For the minutes?
Spell it for you.
Huh?
I took the last one out.
I have Michael and.
That wasn't
last
too
name?
painful.
Malinowski, M.A.
M.A.
Third, we said. Yeah, 23rd of February.
And Michael, your company? Thank you.
I personally find this ugly.
I got some, yeah. Yeah, so the.
Okay, next application is for design review of a site plan amendment for the construction of a proposed 3,116 square foot bank with drive-through, associated parking, and site improvements at 66 Gilcrest Road, Chase Bank applicant and Gilcrest Road Realty Trust owner.
I could find it. What are we doing here? Which
bank.
Which bank is this?
This is at
Chase?
Chase Bank.
Oh, all right.
At 66 Gilchrist.
Uh-huh.
Well, the old days used to be Chase Manhattan, but that's long gone.
Yes. Good evening, folks. Randy Byron with Bowler. Also with me is Kevin Kelly from Core Estates Group. He's the architect. I was just going to give a brief overview of the project, talk about some of the landscaping, lighting, turn it over to Kevin. He'll speak to the building, show you some pretty pictures, and then I'll briefly touch on some of the signage. Is that
Sounds good.
okay? Sounds good. So this is the project at 66 Gilcrest Road. I'm sure everybody's familiar with it, right at the signalized intersection of Gilcrest and Nashua. It's the Remax building. I think there's like,
Oh,
Yeah, I know which
yes.
yeah, there's some
Very
other,
prominent corner,
yep.
intersection, very prominent.
And I think the lot itself, 55,000 or so square feet. And we are proposing, if we can go to the next slide.
Is this a total knockdown?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah,
I was gonna ask
total
that.
knockdown, raise and rebuild, scraping the parking lot, everything, yes, yeah. So basically, this is what we're proposing. It's a 3,100 square foot Chase Bank with a drive-through kind of in the back, up in the top of the page.
That's where Remax and the pizza place
Yes.
are right
Yeah.
now?
There's 24 parking spaces being proposed. And we're basically maintaining that same driveway location that exists today that was per the request of the town engineer. The project itself, we're kind of pulling in the development limits, and as a result, like maintaining like the pavement limits, tightening everything up. I think today there's like 55 or so parking spaces. We're going down to 24. So there'll be a decrease in impervious surface from what exists today. I think it's around 10,000 or so square feet. So as a result of that, there'll be a decrease in stormwater runoff rates, volumes. We're we're even proposing to reuse that stormwater basin in the front, that oval shaped feature kind of on Gilcrest. We're proposing to reuse that. And, in addition to that, there's new underground utilities, erosion and sediment controls, all that stuff. And in terms of landscaping improvements, there's a mixture of existing landscaping that's being maintained. There's some trees up in the upper right-hand corner of the property that we're maintaining those. Also some along the lower left-hand corner, at the corner of Gilcrest and Commerce Drive, I think it is. Supplementing with additional landscaping, trees and shrubs. I think in total, there's 19 new trees being added, 82 new shrubs. And if we flip to the next page, this is simply a black and white version of our landscape plan with our plant schedule in the lower right-hand corner over there. And if we flip to the next one, the lighting, this is our lighting plan. There is obviously new parking lot lights for safety and security. The lights themselves, 20 feet high, the site lights, all downward facing, dark sky compliant. Been designed to really minimize any spillover over the property lines. I think there was a requirement to not exceed 0.2 foot candles over any of the property lines, which we are meeting. That is generally it for lighting. Can can we flip to the next one? And I'll turn it over to Kevin. He'll kind of touch on the building.
Hello, everybody. In terms of the design, we were referenced to a nearby enterprise building, bank that was highly recommended to us to emulate. So we made sure to take architectural features when doing the exterior design. The main exterior finish is going to be a light gray clapboard with white trim to go about it. As an accent to this, there will also be a dark gray clapboard used on the southeast and northwest sides. For the roof, we are using a gable roof. We also have samples of clapboard that we can show just to show what's going to be the primary exterior finish. For the roof, we have a main gable roof with fake dormers along it in order to break up the roof face. And we also made sure that all roofing elements from the main roof, the tower roof, and dormers are made of a dark asphalt shingles and all have the same roof pitch. We have a dark gray brick being used at both the east and west entrances, as well as the central tower on the south elevation, as well as the drive up on the north. If you take a look at the north elevation, you can see how the part of the roof is cut back. That is because above the canopy there is actually a parapet wall. Behind that is a low roof, and that will be where the roof-mounted mechanical equipment is going to be located. This, of course, is going to be screened from view via the brick parapet walls, the gable roofs, and will be further obscured by the dormers on either side. The storefront and canopies are going to be a black anodized aluminum, and it will be above the canopies that we will have the Chase signage from both entrances.
Yeah, and if we flip to the next sheet.
Here you'll be able to get a bit more of the different proposed material types that are going to be used. Next slide.
Yep, and then just moving on to some of the signage that's being proposed. There's so I know out there today is that, I guess you'd call it, I don't know if it's a monument, it's more of like a freestanding sign. That sign would be removed and replaced with this monument-style sign. It is internally illuminated. I think it's just under 30 square feet, 6 feet tall, just over 6 feet tall. And the only part that would be illuminated would be the white Chase lettering, the blue Chase symbol, and then that blue stripe kind of just below the word Chase. The rest of it would be non-illuminated. And then if we flip to the next one, yeah, essentially, so we're also proposing, there's 3 of these signs, one facing Nashua, one facing Gilcrest, and another facing Commerce Drive. It's basically again, it's an internally illuminated channel letter sign, just over 25 square feet, 25.6 square feet. And again, the Chase letters would be internally illuminated as well as that blue logo. Yep, and this is just the view facing Gilcrest. And this is the view facing Commerce Drive. And then beyond that, there's this is the feature on the ATM on the drive-through side of the building. We weren't sure if this entire feature would be considered a sign. We conservatively assumed it was. And we took the areas that, the total rectangle surrounding basically that blue perimeter around that entire area, because it is proposed to be illuminated. It's actually backlit. And the Chase logo would also be backlit. It's roughly 33 square feet when you look at that, again, that that largest rectangle encompassing that blue kind of perimeter line that goes around that whole area. And then there's just some small directional signs, just non-illuminated directional signs, they're just over 2 square feet, kind of placed at some of the driveways. And that's it. I guess in terms of, just in terms of where we are in the process, we filed our design review application. We met with Conservation 2 nights ago. They didn't have any comments, but we still haven't had any meeting with, we haven't had our formal design review meeting, and the project is being peer reviewed by, I think, Stantec.
Okay.
Yes.
And we have not received any comments yet at this point. We haven't gotten any comments from anybody whatsoever.
I think you might run into some signage limitation issues.
I know that some of the signs that we're proposing are above and beyond what the regulations allow.
Yeah,
Yes.
specifically, I'm not sure about the ATM sign. I'm not sure where they're gonna land on that one, but I think you're probably over just with the 3 signs that you have on the building.
Yep.
They typically do 1 on each side. So you're probably gonna run into issues there. That's outside the purview of this commission, but I'm just letting you know you're probably gonna have
We'll get some pushback,
issues
yep.
with that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think staff will let you know anyway, and if they need any opinion on our zoning, they get an opinion from the building inspector.
Okay.
So as far as building design, love that you guys are mixing up the materials. You got some brick, as well as some clapboard and asphalt in there. I would say it seems a little monochrome. Seems like everything's black and gray. I would like to see a little bit of color in there.
But
Yeah, I
sticking
could-
with the earth tone.
Right.
I can see
Yeah.
that, I can see that being an issue.
Right.
As we-
I don't know, some things to think about, maybe go with red brick instead of the gray or something. A little bit of more color, something to soften it a little bit. It's just very black and gray, it seems like,
Chairman, can I-
to me.
Yeah, you know, I'm surprised you didn't bring it up either. There's no mullions in the windows?
Oh, panes?
Oh, muttons?
Yeah, you
I didn't,
You didn't look?
Fenestrations, the.
I'm looking at
The
it, I'm saying it's kind of, besides the
lights.
gray, and it's like,
boy,
it's kind of sterile a little bit, but
Yeah, did you have to go to, was it Citizens Bank, the one in front of Market Basket?
No,
That's the one
that's-
you-
That was the one.
Enterprise. Is that the
Enterprise.
one you were told to go?
Yeah, that's the one.
all right, all
Oh,
right.
wait, that bank is awesome. We did a very good job with that.
It is
I am
very attractive.
impressed.
It's
Right.
very attractive.
Right. I'm like, wow. So they have panes in the windows and the peaks and so.
Well, the panes just kind of soften it,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Maybe not all the
Make
panes.
it look a
out
little more colonial.
there. Yeah,
Yeah, it gives it, the
Maybe that's what
colonial
kind of
look
throws me
to
off.
it, which is,
Probably that
at least for
bank.
New England, it's kind of a softer thing, and
All right, we can definitely incorporate muntins into the design of the storefronts, absolutely.
I do believe that they'll, may run into a little conversation about the color, though.
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
Why, what do you mean? What,
Well, the color, the overall color is
Little bland.
white,
but they gotta, oh,
gray.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
You see what I'm saying?
I think the intent was to try to use earth tones, but
well, there's brown,
So the
green.
thing-
that,
With the colors, we did show a few options to chase. One of them was being the traditional red brick. The one reason that the dark gray brick was chosen here not only was because it matched with the sort of the dark gray accent used as well, which was part of the Chase typical design colors, but also the fact that it was a bit, they believe that it was more an earth tone as opposed to the red. They thought that the red was a little bit too vibrant, so.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Can I say something without? Go tell Chase, right, that I've seen pictures and pictures of the banks that they've built. And they use red tones and brown tones of brick. So, they do. If you want, I'll show you pictures of them.
All right.
Do you understand? I mean, I get it, but I think you're gonna run into a problem there. myself personally. I could be wrong. John, what are you thinking?
Well, I always have a preference to brick, particularly in my bank. It just makes me feel good about having my
Oh,
money
yeah?
there.
It's gonna look like a bank, you know, it's,
Just food for thought.
Yeah, you're gonna make us happy.
Yeah, I think the color, the red color, red brick, I mean, it's as colonial as you can get, right? Red brick is historically been used all over the eastern seaboard in colonial buildings. And it would add a little bit of softness to a building that kind of looks, I think you used a good word, it looks a little sterile. It would add a little bit of pop of color, as well as soften the building a little bit.
trying to think, but we.
That's only one line of it. I know Endicott Brick. I know them well. And they have some, they call it a Kendall Square Blend, which was actually created, the blend was created here in Boston, believe it or not. And they have some browns and some burgundy color bricks.
Yep.
You know, I
Doesn't
mean,
have to
there's
be
no doubt
fire
about it,
engine
the
red.
bank, I mean, they want to use Endicott Brick, they're one of the most expensive bricks you can buy out of Lincoln, Nebraska. It's a good brick, good company. But they do have other interesting colors besides just,
If we were to just switch up the brick color, instead of just gray, turn it into a red or, a brown or earth tone.
Yeah.
Would you approve it? Would you say that
The-
with that swap?
The other colors look pretty good, and I think the red would add, it would break up the building a little bit, soften it a little, I think it would look great.
Or give it a nice subtle pizzazz to it, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, so if we made that switch, or we have to go back to Chase and talk to them and figure out what they want to do.
So we have a couple other things to talk through, but design-wise, I think that would help a lot.
yeah, design, I mean, the design of the building, the structure of the building, do people feel comfortable with it?
Yeah.
Forget about the materials, we're just looking at the structure, the design.
I like that.
I think it looks fine. the
I do
structure.
too. Now, the materials,
About brick
in
and
my
then,
opinion.
like gray clapboards or?
I don't know. I'll tell you what, Endicott makes a beautiful medium iron spot brick. It's nice.
Well, we'll go back to Chase and we'll show them different variants of red brick to see which one they're more comfortable with and which better matches the building.
You said iron spot brick, and then
Yes.
you mentioned another one.
Yeah, Kendall Square Blend and medium iron spot.
Is it Kendall?
Kendall. Yeah,
Kendall.
as in Cambridge, Kendall Square.
Not a local board.
That was created by, what was his name? I'm trying to think. I used to know the name. I'm getting old.
And
I
Mr.
know, Jim, there's things.
Howard Taylor. Howard Taylor was the one that came up with that blend.
Oh.
From Spalding Brick Company in Somerville, Massachusetts.
There is, support for what is being suggested in the lookbook. And I think that to the extent that we can ground our comments in the lookbook, they are particularly defensible from a legal standpoint.
The lawyer,
It's always the lawyers.
Hey, I think that we should redo the lookbook.
It needs an update.
It
does.
It hasn't been,
So, and that
6
was
months.
my point, really, in bringing it up. is that-
Specifically, if we could put pictures of buildings that exist in
Correct.
Londonderry, that would
Right.
be great.
Right.
There's some good in here, but there's also some stuff that just looks like.
well,
Yeah, the gentleman who initially put that together was taking pictures, Tom Bianchi.
yeah.
He used to be on the commission,
bless
he's
me, passed
unfortunately has passed away. But, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
but yeah,
Tommy
he was
was?
up
Yeah.
Vista Ridge.
yeah. Well, let's get back on Chase.
I think the
Good
lookbook
guy.
is fine. We should shoot all the lawyers.
No, I didn't think, that's a great idea.
Wouldn't be the first time I've heard that.
So I
Old
guess I'm the
Home Day would be a
minority here.
great,
I think your
you know,
color
put 'em in the
scheme
dunk
looks fine
tank.
with the Chase Blue logo. I don't see anything wrong with it. But at what point, like, does our color recommendations, if it really clashes with a company's logo or their color, like,
Well,
how do you?
That's a good question.
I mean, I'm learning here. I'm
But there
just
is
asking the
precedence.
question.
medium.
Yes, there's precedents. We had some major clashes at first with Home Depot. And we came to an agreement. The only color that you see at Home Depot orange is the sign out front. The roof is not orange. The roof is green.
Mom remembers.
Yeah, so as I suggested earlier, we don't regulate color, texture, et cetera, except through the lookbook and except through the architectural standards and, so, you know, and that's why I suggest that if we're making, you know, if we would like them to do certain things in terms of color and texture, we tie it back to the lookbook or we tie it back to the site plan regulations. But ultimately, as you're aware, our ability to enforce colors and textures, if it comes down to it, is limited.
We do have the ability to not approve the design submission, though.
You have the ability to not recommend the submission to the planning board for approval.
Right.
But, I mean, even though, you know, we don't have really the force of law behind us, we tend to work with developers to come up with something that's agreeable.
And that's how it
to them
typically
and to us.
goes, and that's how it should go.
Yeah,
Correct.
yeah.
But you know, in fairness to me, I was asked the question, hey, can we legally, you know, force somebody to do this? And the only answer to that is no.
Well,
But going back to Town of Henniker v. Rite Aid back in 1998, New Hampshire Supreme Court says a community has a right to set how it wants to look.
That's correct. That's absolutely correct. And don't misconstrue my comments. What I'm suggesting is that under our current regulations,
no, I'm gonna get them.
that ability is limited.
And you know something?
But we could certainly look at our regulations to enable us to do that. There's nothing illegal or unconstitutional about a community having regulations of color and texture. It's just that we haven't gone quite that far yet.
You know why? I'll tell you why, is because we believe in working with these people, and I have faith that they want to work with us.
I do
That
too.
we want to be good partners.
Correct.
So, hey, their customers are our citizens. So you know something?
Us, in some
I don't need a
cases.
regulation saying you gotta use pink paint. I'm gonna work with these guys,
Yeah,
and let's
we-
come up with something that we can all agree with, and tell Chase Bank that we're the customers. You know what I mean?
And they seem more than willing to do that.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I'm fine with
the
that.
majority of people, you know, we've come to an agreement together.
Yeah.
It's not always perfect. I think as one example was, Di Giuseppe. We'll
let's
talk
not
about
go
that
there.
anymore.
I
That
got ugly.
project folded. And then Exit 5, McDonald's, and corporate McDonald's came in, and it had to be corporate design. So one of our members had, the next, you know, we had all sorts of problems with it, so they came back the second time. And one of our members had, you know, pictures of McDonald's across the country. The question to Mr. McDonald was, why can't you do this here, why can't you do that in Londonderry? Never got an answer, never saw him again after that.
This is where Suppa sits, right, the pizza place?
Yes.
How are we now?
And they're gonna
Oh, was
knock
that
it
the
down.
McDonald's that was gonna
I
go
thought
at the
they-
corner of Vista Ridge Drive?
Oh, no.
Yes.
And their exit.
So, does Chase own the land now?
No, Chase
Not-
does not, no.
no.
They're working with the property owner. I think they have a lease in
Oh,
place
okay.
or some type
All
of
right,
agreement
okay.
with the property owner.
Well, I think these gentlemen heard what we had to say. I think.
One more comment.
Sure.
You specifically, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, me? I'm not the chairman. He'll take the heat. I'm not taking the gun.
We got election of officers coming up.
That's okay. Don't worry.
We don't know. Later it could change.
Hey, I've been called worse, trust me.
He's acting like the chairman.
Where are our nameplates?
Oh, God. No, this is, what? The lawyer. Okay.
Chase Bank did build with red brick at one point. That was phased out. Those were previously used design standards. So we are no longer building with red brick. Kevin, you probably speak to this as well. Unless in special circumstances. Yeah, I think we've expressed that we are absolutely willing to take stuff back to Chase Bank and present this back to them and see what their thoughts are.
And I think that's
we'll
great.
Continue this process of working together.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It sounds
And-
good.
And tell Chase Bank, we're looking forward to doing business with them.
Yeah, we will.
Talk about the sign?
And we'll get there.
Oh, yeah, signage.
As-
Yeah, we still have,
As
like I
quick
said,
as
we
we
still have a
can.
couple more things to talk about. That was just kind of the initial
You got that?
design discussion.
Bring up the sign.
So I'm gonna make a couple of notes. We'd love to see some pops of color with, especially in the brick if possible. And then the window lights. So if we can do anything with those, we'd love to see a design resubmission. As you know, I think you guys were sitting here, we just set up a meeting for February. So if you guys have your design submission ready by then, we could probably sneak it into that meeting if you're in a hurry, so that we don't have to go all the way through to March. February 23rd, that's correct.
That's great,
We
thanks.
need to also, I would suggest, make an addition to their plant schedule. They don't
Yes,
have
I was just thinking of that too when I was looking at
Syringa will
your
get-
landscaping.
Sure.
We love to see our state flower represented in the landscape designs,
Oh,
Purple lilac.
which is purple lilacs.
believe me.
Oh, I think, okay.
Gets
You
brought
can
up a
sneak a
lot
few in.
around here, so.
I think staff, I actually think staff mentioned that to us, that you folks like
Who's the
lilacs a lot.
architect? Are you guys, who's the architect here?
I'm the Architects Core States Group. I'm with the architects.
Can I ask you a question? We've accepted dormers, like, or if you want to call it dormers, or windows on the roof like that, and they were always small and out of scale. These aren't going to be out of scale, are they? I mean, literally, it looked like they knew they had to put them in, and they were small. It just looked horrible. That's what, I mean, they're to scale?
Yeah,
Thank you.
we're gonna make them to scale. Don't worry.
Awesome. That's awesome. There you go, see?
Yep.
Oh, good.
Any other comments on the landscaping? Beyond adding,
That was the only thing I really noticed. I don't think any issues with screening or anything like that.
I mean, it's a prominent corner, you know, I mean,
Yeah,
it's.
it's a bit of a
There's
unique-
really nothing out, is there anything out front of that corner? Just where the sign is, there's a tree.
I was gonna say, yeah, there's a tree there, but there's
I
nothing
mean-
really.
They lost some of the green space with the redo
With the
of
redo of the
102
road?
and that intersection, Gilchrist
I mean-
You
intersection.
said all the mechanicals are gonna be hidden on the roof, correct?
Yes,
Yeah,
it'll be
there's no
on the
issues
north
with that.
side, so it'll be out of sight from either street.
Yes. I like that.
So,
You've got a good location there.
does this involve,
Yeah.
I know where this building is, does that involve also taking out the other side, the Papagenos in that area?
That's a whole nother building.
yeah, the,
That's a whole nother.
the
over here.
entire,
That is a
oh,
separate-
sorry.
Yeah, there's,
So this is the
there's
site.
the bank.
that's-
and this
There's a
building's there.
space, okay.
Yeah, there's green, and then there's a, driven around it, so, yeah, you can drive around the building.
Yeah, the back of that strip mall.
I didn't know you could.
Yeah, you can, yeah. It's for service entrance and stuff like that. I think this will be a great addition.
Right.
I really do.
Well, there's been like 10 pizza places there,
I
right?
know.
Yeah, well, at least two in the time that I've been in town, so.
Yeah, that's where, what was it, Don Moskowitz had.
Don Motzkowitz had it, yeah, and Don Betsy, ERA,
Oh,
his
yeah.
office was in there. Boy, we're dating ourselves. Walk off.
Over historical.
I've never heard of these people, guys.
Obviously, we're dating ourselves.
Now, these guys are all new. Is this the point where we have them sing Kumbaya and?
You can certainly do that if you want.
Sue, you had mentioned the signage. You had questions.
Yeah, yeah, maybe like, we do like a brick bottom, a brick square,
Oh,
having it.
This is for the monument sign?
I did actually have some questions about that. You said it was a monument sign, but the bottom just has like kind of a dark gray look. Is that metal wrap or something currently?
I will, so we have actually the sign.
Yeah, it's me right here. I'm with Philadelphia Sign Company.
Dan,
Yeah, come on up.
This is aluminum clad here.
Can you just introduce yourself?
Yeah,
please?
can you come up to the microphone so we can, because we're on the air, believe it or not.
Oh, of course. I'm on TV. look
We're
at that.
televised across the world here.
Yeah, we don't know what our viewership is or anything.
Well, if there is, we'll get the phone calls.
Gotta get Google Analytics
Trust
on
me.
it.
Dan Egloff, Philadelphia Sign, by the way.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is aluminum clad here. We do often do, other bases, brick or stone or, I think you guys mentioned that you had a standard for monument bases.
So our standard, more or less, is kind of, again, in the lookbook and around town, you can see signage where we've asked for brick or stone base monuments.
Just
not. With
just not
plantings in the
aluminum.
middle and stuff like that. Yeah, it's something other than aluminum, again, just to kind of soften the the feeling.
Yeah, a lot of times what we'll do is we'll tie it into whatever brick they're using on the building, so whatever we decide on that, we could use on the monument. as well.
Perfect.
That would be
And the sign ordinance may speak to this in a direct enforceable way, I'm just not sure.
Yes, sir.
I mean, there are very detailed
No problem.
requirements in the sign ordinance.
These fellas are allowed to come back. You,
Loving the town.
So can I ask you a question? You've done granite and you've done brick
Yes.
monuments?
Yeah. Yeah, because our
Does the
sign-
brick hold up over a extended period of time, or does the water stop breaking the?
As long as it's not really close to the road where it's getting hit with salt or something
Yeah,
like that, it'll hold
okay.
up.
Just
Yeah, I mean,
checking.
because ours, it's basically just, the way the sign's built is there's a foundation under it.
Right.
And a post that comes up, and then whatever foundation we put around it is not structural at all, so we could really put whatever we want around there.
Okay.
So I noticed in your design plan for the building, it called out thin brick. For the sign, would that be full brick?
It could be, I mean, we would want it to match identically to whatever.
Whatever they put on the building, okay. Okay. Yeah,
It
I
would.
think that would look great, especially if it ties right into the color that's on the building. It'd really tie everything together. Okay.
I think first round, you guys did a good job.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
It's actually not a lot of suggestions for first time, so nice job.
It's a nice design, and I like your color.
Oh, brother, there it goes. It's gonna go to hell in a handbasket now.
Yeah, that's why there's 7 of us. There's always gonna be different opinions, and it's.
Didn't you
always
just get
one.
on the board?
Any other suggestions or questions from commission members? Okay.
I think it's good design, and
I do.
be a welcome thing for Londonderry.
So again, our next meeting was tentatively scheduled for the 23rd of March, but we do have a special meeting in February. So you're free to resubmit if you think you're ready before then, and we could see you as soon as a month from today.
Okay, sounds good.
I would
Yeah.
say that the Heritage Commission, it will be very accommodating when
Absolutely.
it comes to time.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's great, yeah. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Have a good night.
Excuse my wonder really here.
Oh, is this some of the materials, huh?
Do you have the numbers?
What was it, cementatious,
You know what it is? It's the same stuff that we used on the fire department.
It's a
Side.
fiber cement board. So
Oh.
they're very sturdy products.
Very-
yeah, long lasting. It's like a hardy plank,
Yeah, that's exactly what it
is
is.
exactly what it is.
That is, it is hardy.
Exactly what it is.
We haven't officially selected that as our material, so that's why we didn't say it. We're saying,
Yeah,
you
I
know,
know.
fiber cement plank, but yeah, we're looking at hardy for.
I think hardy's a good product. I know some products come from China and there's been problems with it.
Uh-huh.
I've dealt with hardy and.
Make sure it's made in the USA.
Yeah. Thank you very much, guys.
We've seen it so much here.
Yep. Huh?
We've seen it so much here with builders coming in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did my house in hardy plank.
We are going to move along to the next item on our agenda, which is staff reports. We do have an application for formal review of a subdivision of tax map 28, creating a total of 4 lots, 1 Highlander Way, and 4 Sparks Ave, City of Manchester owner and Benton Family Trust applicant, conditionally approved by the planning board on 1/4/23.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is on here for informational purposes only. This is the Executive Club property up by the airport. And the way that their property was configured previously was by way of lease lot, which is not a legally recognized thing. And so they came in to essentially get formal recognition for those lots that they've been operating on for many years. They went to the ZBA and got relief for certain things there. They went to the planning board, and on January 4th, they got approval for those lease lots to convert into legal lots of record. No improvements are being discussed. It was solely for that purpose.
Okay.
Rather complex.
Very complex.
Okay. Next item of business is the election of officers.
Who's being
Hey,
nominated, Jim?
don't look at me, I got my hands full.
That's what you said last time this
I
came
did,
up.
no, I can't, because I'm the,
Mr. Chair, I'll entertain a motion, see if anyone is in an agreement, is that we keep our current slate of officers. So Chris is chair, I as vice chair, and John as our scribe.
Okay,
So moved.
Second?
moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
aye.
All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. Current officers will remain in place.
Thank you very much.
Moving along, our next item is for public input. Seems we only have one member of the public in attendance.
I'm just watching the show.
All right, all right, sounds good.
Oh, God.
So you're in agreement with us, Jake?
Sounds good.
All right, on that note.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Before you close. I have a note from our last meeting that Mr. Butler had proposed putting lookbook pictures in the walls in the room where staff performs design reviews. Have we had any activity on that?
I have not
Well,
seen
it's-
anything further since we discussed that a
Well, let's put it this
couple of
way.
months ago.
Under the circumstances, what happened tonight with the lookbook, maybe we should look it over.
Right.
And
I like it.
then make the decision on, should we or shouldn't we? I
Let
mean,
me-
let's put it this way.
We look at the lookbook first.
I was just gonna say,
Yeah,
I'd
we
like to
gotta look at
propose,
people-
I'd
Yes.
like to propose a question.
Yeah, we should.
Mr. Malaguti, what is the process for changing the lookbook? Is it as simple as, do we have to have a formal meeting to talk about it?
No.
What is the?
Well, here's how I would approach this. One is, I'm happy to lend whatever staff support is needed to freshen it up. However, it really is, as Councilor Butler points out, an important document that is a reference point for important projects that go through this commission and through the planning board. And so I think there should be certainly some level of board involvement and ultimately board approval for any changes that we do make. But I'm happy to do whatever the commission wants, whether to take a first cut at it at my level or to put together a group. Basically, whatever you would like us to do, I'm happy to accommodate.
Well, I think the last time, were you here when we did the first one?
No.
Oh, you weren't? Oh, well, anyway.
Yeah, because Tom had put together these pictures.
Yeah, and we just had meetings and
So
then
that
we-
was kind of what I was getting at with this question is, in order to put the lookbook together, we have to not only make the recommendations, but we need pictures of
Right.
things around town.
Yeah.
Who did we have do that work before, or was it just kind of a crowdsourced type of thing?
That's
where-
what it sounds like. I don't know specifically, but the other thing I would say is it should, the master plan is a little bit stale at this point, but there's a lot in there that I think still holds true, particularly around brick and
Yeah.
stuff like that, mixed use. And I think it should be integrated with the master plan as much as possible.
Yes, yep, they kind of really have got to dovetail together.
I think at this point, even just since I've been here, we've changed or not changed so much as influenced lots of designs of buildings around the town that we can look at and say, this is something we really like. They made these changes and this looks great. Stuff like we were just talking about this bank, right, that we thought looked great
Oh,
over
Enterprise?
on, Enterprise Bank. So maybe that would be one of the pictures we put in there. Hey, this is a great design. We have all these different buildings now that we've approved over the years that we think we did a good job on that we can use as examples for the lookbook. So,
Yeah, maybe even if, commission members, take pictures or
Right.
have a favorite picture or something that they like,
we just got to be
bring in,
careful.
I guess we have to get it an electronic version anyway. And then we can just assemble it ourselves.
If I remember correctly, I think that's what we did. People went around town, I know Tom did,
Tom, I
and
think,
brought
took
pictures to the board.
And ones he
Kinda-
didn't really think we had here, I think he got from other sources.
Yes, he did.
So,
Yeah.
But I think having it of Londonderry, because back in the old days, when the planning board pretty much was the, economic development and worked with developers and everything, I would just tell them, take a ride around town, get the atmosphere, get the feel for it, and then that's kind of what we want. And we could come back to the planning board, and most of it, I mean, Wendy's was an anomaly. I wasn't on the board at that time, so it was in between my ex officio stints from the Board of Selectmen.
I remember when they.
You weren't on the board at the time?
No. I was, let's see, 86 is when I first won election.
Different board.
Very first selectmen's meeting, they put me in as ex officio.
Yeah,
No input from me.
Trial by fire.
It was, that was it. I was there.
So what do you think, Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Chair, could I make a comment on that real quick?
Sure, if you wouldn't mind, please approach the mic, introduce yourself.
An address, please?
Oh, jeez. Jake Butler, 2 Danbury Court. I know from a planning board side of things, there are a number of members on the planning board who have discussed, how can we relook at the lookbook and update it, because it is certainly dated at this point. We've all kind of brought up the fact that most of the pictures in the lookbook aren't even from Londonderry. So personally, I think, there's a handful of members on the board that would love to do something like that. I don't know if there is any way is there an ability to have like a joint meeting between planning and heritage, and we can all kind of, get on the same page, all have the same vision, so that way when plans come, I think it'll make things a lot easier getting through design review and all that, if they have a lot more of an understanding of what we're doing. So I'm sure, and Mr. Chair, I'm not trying to talk for you, but I'm sure the planning board would love some input on it. I know there's a couple of us members that have talked about it, and have really been trying to figure out, how do we get started on it? When do we get started on it? What can we do?
Yeah, we certainly could have a joint meeting, and then the number of photographers that could take pictures would, double.
And I don't know if, redoing the lookbook would require some sort of, that wouldn't require some sort of subcommittee or something.
No, we never had a public
No,
hearing.
we threw it in a
we could
3-ring
just-
binder.
That's what I'm
if I
saying. We
remember
could just start
correctly.
collectively working on it as a
Right.
group and put something.
Right, as long as
together.
quorums of the two boards are not getting together,
Yeah.
then that's fine.
Right,
Yeah.
Correct.
that was my main
Right.
concern
That's what-
is
exactly.
if we're all just taking pictures and talking to each other in emails and on the
problem.
phone and stuff, all of a sudden it's
You
like,
got
did
a
a
meeting.
quorum get
Right,
constituted
right.
and now it's a
Correct.
meeting?
Correct.
So if we make it a meeting, then we don't have that issue.
Right, it'll be posted and
Right.
legal.
We all sit down, we
So
can
I
all
think that would be
potentially,
great.
before the meeting, take some pictures, bring some pictures in, talk about which ones we want included.
Yeah.
Um,
I think that would be great, and, like Mike has said a couple times today, from a legal standpoint, the lookbook gives them something to kind of lean on. So,
Right.
it being appropriate to what we expect today, I think would make stuff a lot easier and maybe give staff a little bit more ability to have a plan come to the Heritage and the Planning Board with a little bit more of what we expect, and maybe avoid that, back to the drawing board type thing.
Yeah, because I think we can come, what we need is the consensus, and I think the consensus is really there, because I don't think the commission and the planning board differ that much.
No.
I think there was only one instance that I can recall that the planning board, I think, overrode the heritage, and that was with the lights at Mr. Steers. One of
Yep.
these exterior lights that outlined the
Oh, I
building.
know what you're talking
Remember
about.
that
Yeah.
one?
It
You wanted
did
these big,
sneak
like,
through, I think it was a.
yes,
It's like
I do
neon
remember
strip
that.
lights through the whole.
Yeah,
Yeah.
4-3 vote on the heritage, and I was on
Chris
the
got a little
minority side, I
excited.
think Sue was also. And they got to the planning board, and the planning board's, we, this is not Londonderry. It got turned down.
So I think it would take a couple meetings, but maybe if we could set up some workshop-like things and we could work on it, I think it would help
Because
out.
we could, like, the second meeting of the month for the planning board is usually for discussions and
Yeah.
so forth.
Yep.
So when well, I think Kelly will be back. I think we just have one item.
It's a rezoning,
Yeah, it's a rezoning issue.
correct.
So,
So the Heritage Commission can kind of co-opt your meeting? I like that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying,
Sure.
let's all get together, talk
There's-
together,
there's-
and work as a
there's-
unit
I'm
instead.
happy.
There's nothing to prevent. I think there's certain procedure we have to meet with the ZBA, but we could just kind of, that's in our rules of procedure.
I'd kind of like the feedback from the planning department too, to see what they think about that book and find out if people are using it and how it's used and, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, by all means, we'll come ready with that. So is it the commission's pleasure that I notice up a joint meeting of
Yeah,
the,
let's get it done.
and Mr. Chairman of the planning board?
Yeah, by the way, Jim.
Are you
Like
in
I said,
agreement
not
as
trying
well?
to talk for you.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, yeah.
Our February 8th meeting, we could probably do it after the rezoning thing.
Yeah.
So we're surprised Kelly when she comes back.
Yeah.
I stand to be corrected.
So what is the date we're talking about?
February 8th.
Oh, is it a definite?
Yeah, it'll be added to the agenda. Because we just got one rezoning issue, depending upon the amount of, public input there.
I don't think that one will be particularly involved.
I think it's
I think
fairly
we had a very
straightforward.
productive meeting
the way I
tonight.
see it. Should be, anyway. Sometimes things I say are straightforward and easy.
Right, you never know.
It's always a level of agreement.
Yeah, you did, Jesus.
So would we,
Thank
would
you.
we like to go to that meeting, not prepared, let's say, but at least with some materials to talk about, or do we want to start talking about it at that meeting?
To me, it would almost be a meeting that we would set a guideline of what we're trying to do and maybe set almost a schedule of how we're trying to do things. I think it would be a multiple meeting process, but,
Yeah.
you know, meeting one has come up with a game plan and something we can
just-
execute on. you
And
know?
even to the point of like, if someone wants to do something, we don't want to delegate, but if someone wants to do it, they certainly can, because I know there's people that love photography. Some of the pictures that we do have, I think, in it, no, that was with the historical properties. And Tim Thompson took a lot of the pictures. I think there are two other members of the Heritage Commission that took pictures also. And then, once the pictures all got together, we sat in Sunnycrest and went through them all and what we want historical or not. I think it was John Dalfred and Steve Young. They're no longer on the, commission. And just decided there was specific criteria. I think there were three main points, and there was a fourth point for exceptions that determined what would be on there, and we made the decision, and it was put together in a report for the town council. Town council adopted it, so.
And I believe that document is on the website, the planning department website.
It's on the website, but not completely. And I think I'd given Colleen copies of my hard copy of it, because she couldn't find any hard copies. Because I think it had the preamble to it, but no listings at all. I do still have the listings if no one can find them.
We'll make sure that it's complete.
Okay, yes, yeah, should be 137 of them. Two of them have dropped out because of, they did not want to be considered part of it. And also if they modified their house to, because there's 75% original appearance on the exterior is one of the criteria. And then it's got to be 100 years old, I think is another one. So third one, I have to go back and look.
So we'll plan to have a meeting to plan future meetings
Yeah.
on the 8th.
Come up with a game plan on the 8th. Yeah.
All right, sounds good.
So we're gonna have a meeting to have another meeting.
Yes.
We're gonna
Got
have
it.
our first joint
Got it.
meeting.
We're gonna have a meeting to
pre-meeting.
prepare for,
All
yeah,
right.
pre-meeting meeting.
A pre-meeting meeting.
Yes.
Everyone's in a
Yeah,
meeting.
planning board's only had joint meetings with the town council, which it's been a while.
Really?
We gotta get everybody together, man. Let's do it. Let's do it.
We all have to get on the same page.
And one other thing that's been bugging me is I know the places that we've either okayed years go by and then they don't come to us because they don't go out of their original blueprint. Londonderry Ford makes me ill.
Now, once it's been built,
No, wait. But, right, they're not supposed to come to us, but can we change that? Now look at Sunoco gas
Well,
station.
you know, I
When they
think,
do revisions and renovations and stuff, you mean, to change a design that we've already approved?
Well, it's up to the building inspector to enforce
Right,
what is
so-
on the
so
original
it-
site
You know,
plan.
I believe if somebody submits an application for a site plan amendment and elects to go the DRC route, that would trigger a new set of visits to Heritage and Conscom.
But if they don't, and they just renovate,
Oh,
what is the
well, that's an
enforcement?
yeah, that's
Right,
an
it's
enforcement issue. Yeah.
right?
Or do like Paul Gladstone, you just go do it.
Right, exactly, yeah.
Then the complaints came in,
Oh,
and,
well, this is the thing that drives me nuts. Oh, it drives me nuts.
Says the guy who wanted to
All
adjourn
town.
5 minutes ago.
Remember the canopy on All Town?
oh,
How we
yes,
fought for that?
yeah.
New building, no problem. We all agreed, it came out nice. Then you go down the street, and Sunoco bought that existing, what was it, Speed?
that's what I'm talking about.
And then
Speedway,
they get their, we had no control over that canopy, so the people that are building new buildings, we have an input, and then someone like Sunoco come, and don't get me wrong, Sunoco's a good company, but they just,
This
it's
is what I'm
like,
getting at. This is what I'm getting at.
I mean, I'm not gonna say what I'm.
We have a well-staffed code enforcement department that would be,
Yeah, but
Yes.
they're not like us. They don't have, the earth tone colors and.
Yeah, but is that something we can change our regs to try to, or is
Well,
that, I'm just curious, you know?
I think there could be some contravention of
No,
our
no, 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 no,
statutes.
no.
Right.
We need power in this town.
Right.
Let's not be looking like.
Well, that's where the statutes,
Yeah.
because land use boards have no enforcement powers whatsoever.
right, so if they've skipped a step that they should have completed, then that could be a problem, but it would really depend on the facts of the case.
I just. feel
That
like
is a very lawyer-like.
Yeah, wasn't it? Hey, look at,
I just feel like we're being defeated of what we do.
And
Like
it's-
Sunoco doing in all these blues and stuff, and we had our turn with
Well, if they
fried
make-
chicken.
But I really think, as has been suggested, I think this board has influenced
Right. They gotta get
direct
through us.
development in this town in a positive way.
Right.
Are there people who don't follow the rules? There always are, but.
yeah, you're always gonna have them.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it's up to, it's a,
basically saying something that doesn't trigger a site plan review, but they
that's what it sounds like to me, correct?
yeah.
If they wanted to
Right.
add on to that
If
gas
it's-
station a little
right.
bit, it would have triggered a site plan and come.
Oh,
in.
right, like Coca-Cola added on.
Yeah, because if they have to go for a permit, the building inspector
Right.
gives
To
the
change the
permit.
sign.
If the permit, if it requires, let's say, amended site plan,
I don't think so.
they could let, Kelly know
Exactly.
it's gonna be done.
Yeah.
But the judgment is with the building inspector.
But
wonder
wait,
what our
I'm
legal
saying is,
standing would
can
be
we
to challenge
change
something
it so
like
when
that.
people, when they do go out of the original blueprint, they do come to us? Or when they don't go out of it, like Londonderry Ford, look what happened there, that.
Yeah,
I think
don't
there's
think
a
we
balance.
Maybe
that-
what we should do is
have
bring the
that
building
balance that needs
inspector
to be
onto the
struck
board.
between
Yeah.
having everybody come back and, having
February.
significant, substantial revisions
I'm
come back.
getting punchy now.
And that's what the site plan regulations do. They differentiate between, major and minor site plan regulations, amendments, administrative amendments. And some of them require a lot of board input, and some of them require no board input, believe it or not. And so, I think that's how that gets worked out in practice.
But you know what I'm saying, if we could get it so they do come to us, if they, like Sunoco, they could have come to us and logo and, color, whatever, I mean, that's what I mean, in Londonderry Ford, that terrible, oops, that silver.
It's something that could be looked at, for sure.
Oh, good, that's what I've been thinking of.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
the service building, that came before the planning board.
Yes.
And that is basically and I think it came before Heritage also, but it's all they had to follow Ford corporate design and everything.
No. We've
Yeah,
gone
thank
against,
you,
we've
thank
gone
you.
against corporate design.
Oh, yeah,
I think a lot
but
of that was because they already had the existing building there.
It's They true.
already
That's
had the
why we at the planning board, because I think most of us said we didn't like the way it looked, but. we were
So you
okay
let it
with
get by.
We were okay with
Okay.
it because there's already an existing
There
building there.
there was an existing
Yeah.
building, that's what made the difference. But it did make a
If it was a
lot better
standalone
looking than what
building,
Paul
it's not a
Gladstone had.
You know what, guys? I would propose we put a new section in the lookbook that says, here are 5 or 10 buildings in Londonderry we hate. And they should never look like this.
We'll have a do's section and a don't section.
Hey, I'll tell you what, they'll talk about it.
Oh, that would get attention.
Yeah,
Why
well,
don't we have a procedural, like a case study one, and we'll use Yum Brands. They were here 4 times.
Oh, yes.
Yum
The-
Brands?
Yeah, the Taco
We had-
Bell.
We had them here? Oh. for-
Taco Bell, we had, yeah, it was four times. They finally get something close. And then we were editorializing the Union Leader as Taco Hell. Why should the Londonderry, Heritage put, these people, the Yum Brands, through all this, grief?
$4 billion corporation, jeez.
But we had their architectural engineer, female, go back to the Midwest on a plane 3 times to make us happy.
Yeah.
So we got, it's,
What you see there now is a compromise. We came to a mutual agreement.
Well,
Hopefully a better lookbook will make it so they don't have to come 3 times.
Right.
There you
See
go.
what I'm getting at?
Well-
Let's try and.
I mean, keep in mind, we have the lookbook now, and sometimes they come with stuff that,
right.
Yeah,
it's like they didn't even bother,
Right.
you know?
Oh,
So,
the original, I'm sorry, and I know I said it and I got yelled at for it, the original Derry Medical Center that I said looked like the Starship Enterprise
Yeah.
when it rolled in here the first time.
but
okay?
no different than Bluebird Storage, where
Oh,
it said
my-
if you wanna go on a battleship, go down to
That was 3 iterations.
or a prison.
Were you
Yeah,
on the
I was
board
here
then?
for that one.
You had to take a timeout.
When that man
We
pulled
took
off
a
that
timeout.
fan of colors and all blues, and my mother said,
I was just,
I do
I was
too.
just gonna say,
not blue.
I'm
I have
exhausted.
to, I hate to interrupt, but it's almost 10 o'clock, so
Oh, my God.
we have a motion to
Second.
adjourn.
We gotta
Seconded.
research what they have for facilities.
All in favor of adjournment, please say aye.
Aye.